Yeah, that was not the story of the guy I met.
He made a song in the bathroom. He made us. It came back. He's like, "Hey, check out this track," and it was dubstep.
Like sampling a fucking. He was eating vegan stuff too. I would imagine Skrillex would be vegan. I don't know.
Yeah. What did he eat on the flight? Anything?
No, probably peanuts or something.
Peanuts.
It was a Southwest flight.
Vegan.
Vegan
true
peanuts.
vegan. How was he doing this on the flight too? Was he just like
Not that he was like taking samples and arranging samples and was like, "Hey, check this out. Look what I just made." And we were like, "What?"
oh damn?
This
Was
is
it
like
a-
2011, I want to say.
That was peak time to meet
That
Skrillex.
was like it. Well, he was like, we booked 7 Skrillex shows or 8 Skrillex shows, and it was like the first time an artist sold so many tickets. We were like, "Here, we're gonna give you more money because you did so well." It was like we booked him like 6 months earlier, and like it was all like before the first Grammy nomination, but like after it blew up, and it was like every show was rammed, like Bourbon Street, like we did Richmond, we did Norfolk, we did Pittsburgh, I think we did Philadelphia. Like it was out of control.
That's a good promo company though. You guys are throwing a little bonus, you know.
Right. Well, we were like, I think it was like $1,000 a show, and we're like, shows are like grossing 25 grand, like 20 grand, 15 grand, whatever. Can't even remember. But I mean, selling out Bourbon Street was not easy back then.
Like what place did he play? Or did he play Bourbon Street?
People like
Remember
Bourbon Street downtown?
Yeah, down by.
Oh, I'm thinking New Orleans.
No. It was like the old Hammerjacks and like
He
it's
sold
just
out
sitting
New
there.
Orleans.
Yeah, he sold out all of New Orleans, the whole Bourbon Street.
Everybody take your fucking tubas and go home,
Yeah.
all right?
We're gonna give you $1,000 to play to 50,000 tourists.
Is this jazz?
It was really awkward when he bumped some serious jazz musicians.
Oh
off the
yeah,
stage.
yeah, exactly, dude, exactly. Guys, live from the studio. I'm Jimmy Selesky.
Merrick Glazer.
We're here with our fine friend, returning to the cast. You were here, what, a year ago?
A year ago, about yeah.
It almost, if I'm not mistaken, was to the month, right?
It's. I just sent that episode to someone, and it's like right in like that April range. I think it's almost a year.
Wow.
Let's check.
Evan Weinstein, part owner of what is it? What was it? The numbers we were saying, 4.83% owner of Moonrise.
May 2nd. We did May 2nd.
Cool. Okay.
So we're all, yeah.
Damn. Okay.
We might just push this back.
Yeah, we
Release
might
it on
have
the
the
2nd.
second.
That's probably when it came out. We probably did April or something.
And 200% owner of the famous Underground Pizza.
Famous.
Now in Power Plant, but even more now, if you're listening now.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to you in Towson. Our favorite place.
I love Towson.
Mm-hmm.
We got a Whole Foods now.
Oh my God.
It's nice.
It's too nice.
What else? We have a Whole Foods. There was something else. Oh, we have a Sweet Green. We have a Whole Foods. We have a Shake Shack.
What is that? What are you in DC? Or is that what you're talking about?
No, this is Towson now.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
10 years ago, I would have said you were describing
Yeah.
DC, but now I'm like, it's Towson.
Yeah, dude, we got the White House now. We have all the stuff. All the
There's
stuff.
there's a Washington Monument.
Mhm. Dave Chappelle is from where we are. It's
Yeah.
so interesting.
gonna be
Towson is really
great.
on the come up. Yeah, so you guys are opening up. What was the official opening day? 3 days from now? 4
I
days
think
from now?
it's next, not this coming weekend. We
May
got
2nd?
one more inspection to do. I got a couple pieces of equipment to drop, but next weekend. So like May, the first full weekend in May.
And this new location, I'm curious, is it going to have a bar? Because the one down in Power Plant has a bar, correct?
It's not right away. We're still figuring out the liquor license. So, but it's going to be takeout, delivery, dine in, late night.
Maybe you could help me with this liquor license thing, because I have always wondered. They say that there's a limited amount, correct?
Correct.
Limited amount. And so you can't make new ones. It's like energy. Liquor licenses are like energy.
There's some places though, some buildings can have them issued based on the building and parameters with the building. So we're looking into that because we're going to be in the penthouse building, which is commercial and it's residential and it's got all this different stuff going on. So we believe that fits.
Well, there was a bar there, and it hasn't been open. That if I'm thinking of the right place, where you're planning on opening has not been occupied for quite some time.
It's like 2015. Like the fire
Yes.
extinguishers were from like 2015.
There was a place, I think it was called Rodeo or El Rodeo.
El Rodeo, that's it. I couldn't remember the name.
That
but
really
now-
tried hard with karaoke nights. But I think they had a liquor license. I don't know.
They did.
They did.
So that's what we're trying to figure out how to.
I think you should hit up, little Towson inside baseball here.
Yeah.
You know?
You know a guy?
I think you should hit up Towson Best, see if they'll sell you their liquor license.
What's
Really?
Towson Best?
The Chinese food place, dude. I had a beer there the other day. I was like, you guys don't really sell that much beer. They're like, no, we just have the thing. And I was thinking, like,
Those things are expensive in that immediate area.
I know. I feel like they're
I've
wasting
heard
it.
they're like $350,000.
Yeah.
Like they're an asset.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like-
Our friends just own, not like super close friends, but the guys on the reservoir are the guys from the reservoir, the old little Dickies. They.
Oh, is that what they're calling it? I looked into
Yeah.
taking that over too. at one
Oh
point.
really? You were looking at
Yeah.
taking over Little Dick? Yeah, that
That
place
went
is
crazy.
That place has been open for about. Well, it was just kind of running with the Little Dickies sign, and then they finally got the new sign for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had to like take out like life savings type shit to get a loan for the liquor license. Like it's intense.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It came with the liquor. I thought it came with the liquor license though.
I don't know,
who
dude.
fucking
Can't
knows?
you just let me make shit up?
No, I believe it.
I mean, it might have been
okay,
in part
fine.
of like the
You had to.
building.
You had to give your. Oh, right. The caveat was firstborn or life savings.
Mm-hmm.
that was the deal in the lease.
So here's why I think that the UPC is going to be a successful Towson staple hold. A, because the pizza's bang in Detroit style. B, because us Towson people, we are used to York Road being the strip, right? And everything that you want to go to is on York Road, with an occasional dip down Pennsylvania if you want to go to CVP or CNR. But for the most part, that strip now, and I think this might have been why Rodeo didn't succeed back, 10 years ago, is because nobody really thought of going down Allegheny as a viable going out option.
Nobody goes past Towson Hot Bagel.
But now, totally.
That's it.
Unless
That's
you're
the
me and you're
end
going
of the
to
street, and then
Catmandu
everything else
Kitchen,
is,
baby.
you're a lawyer, or you work at the bank,
Mm-hmm.
or you live up there in that big building.
But now with Banditos moving in, there's no way you're going to tell me that Banditos isn't about to be a poppin' ass bar.
When I heard Banditos was moving in, I was like, the block is hot. Like we're about to have traffic down here, and then from what I understand, and I got a DM from them. There's a really good bakery. I don't know that they've announced it yet, so I'm not going to blow their spot up because I don't. There's a really good bakery going in next door to us, and that got me excited because I love bread.
Oh, really? What's
So,
the bakery called?
That's nice try.
Oh, okay.
But they're opening a bunch of locations around the area, and it's a really high end like Bavarian baker.
Oh, nice.
So I might as well just tell you, it's Rogan Art, so they're all over.
I was gonna
They
guess
used to be
that.
on Falls Road.
Mhm.
Actually, toured their old space as like a possible location at one point during the pandemic. And I had heard they were coming, and then the guy DM'd me, so I guess I can say it on he DM'd me, so it's real.
You damn
Yeah.
yeah.
What's going on?
So, as the proprietor, are you like now that you own multiple locations, 2 locations? Are you
Three.
gonna-
We opened in Silver Spring.
Oh,
in
shit.
February.
Ooh.
Yeah,
How's that going?
it's great. It's it's a phased opening, so we started with like takeout, then we added delivery. Working on dine-in, we're gonna get a liquor license down. Definitely getting a liquor license down there because you can just. It's different down in Silver Spring.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone just applies, and if you're, I guess, a good citizen, you get a liquor license.
Why can't they do that in Baltimore County?
That's
dude?
because the man wants to just hold us down. I don't know.
Why can't I prove I'm dope and get a liquor license for the
Yeah.
studio?
Yeah.
My pizza's good. I should get a liquor license.
You should.
There's plenty of places with shitty pizza that have liquor licenses. I have good pizza.
That's phenomenal. You're bringing we're as we discussed before the podcast with the whole food and the sweet green and all that stuff. I think that was during the podcast. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, but we are becoming a real contender in the area.
Right.
You know.
Like I used to love Annapolis because it was like everything was there. Like you had Whole Foods, you had good restaurants. It's coming up around here. I feel like we're getting the things that other people have that Towson's been missing.
And you guys are gonna have a shitload of business just from that building you're in, dude.
Right.
I mean, if there was
Yeah,
a
and we'll
pizza
have
place-
delivery. I mean, when you think about the delivery and like our pizza's not cheap, like it's high end, but there's a lot of people who want hot, like not good food delivered to their door.
Yeah.
So
and you guys,
Well, and
you've
if you're
been-
doing late night,
right, we're
A
gonna
lot
go.
of
We'll go
places
till 1 a.m.,
close.
2 a.m.
a lot of places close like 10, 11.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if you guys have that poppin' Banditos crowd leaving the bar at
Oh,
2
yeah.
a.m., it's going to be hard not to open the doors for them,
Yeah.
dude. You know what I mean?
I feel like they're gonna open the doors for themselves if we don't. So
Yeah.
if we walk in, there's a bunch of drunk people cooking pizza.
That's also
yeah,
throws
we're
a big
pumped.
wrench in real quick. That throws a big wrench in next year's bracket too. Banditos opening up in Towson. That's a huge.
I know, and
That
we're gonna
is
have
true.
to if we're across the street from them. It's like we're cousins,
Yeah.
and so
Well, you
we're
still
gonna
have
to
to-
pull for them. But they have to knife fight me in the alley.
Well, you have to
remember?
knife fight the owners of Das Beer Hall this year.
I'm
still.
excited.
You have to be
Yeah,
open.
they're going
Yeah.
down.
So tune in Saturday, May 7th, folks. We got the little party at Das Beer Hall coming at you where we'll be featuring comedy, music, and a knife fight
Yeah.
from the owner of Underground Pizza.
Just for reference, I was threatening anyone who won the contests that they ran. The what is it called? The March?
Baltimore Bar Classic.
The Baltimore Bar Classic. I was
BBC.
challenging the winner of that contest to a knife fight in an alley for the crown.
And you got an alley right there, dude. I mean, we can make it happen.
We're doing this.
Well, if
Jimmy
you-
has fought in that alley before.
Oh, yeah, dude. You got to fight in the alley, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wrestled. He
Wrestled.
You
Wrestled.
wrestled.
Yeah, we're going to call wrestling fighting from now on.
All right, cool.
Sounds cooler.
That's not cooler. I fought all through high school. So I see you brought in a couple pieces here today. We
Yeah.
tried the masterpiece, the margarita, which I think is a contender for my favorite all-time type of pizza is margarita. You
That's
can't-
my favorite one. That's my favorite slice right now. And honestly, like for me, I never said that about one of our slices. I ate that pizza and I was like, this is my favorite slice in the country.
Dude, I think what you should do is, now I'm thinking about it and now that I'm part owner of your business, I think that you
Trademark.
you
Copyright.
should combine with your neighboring restaurants, get a little Kathmandu Kitchen's right next door, maybe get a little tikka masala pizza.
That'd be cool. Kathmandu's got really good food.
They're the best.
It's on my list of like, I went there. So when I was this was my sophomore year, junior year of college, I needed a job and I ended up at Valpak. You know what that is? Those fucking mailers that come to the blue envelope that come to your house.
Really?
And yeah, I was an assistant, like a administrative assistant for like the top salesman. And that Kathmandu was like one of his clients, and he would just drag me around with him to like client meetings and sell these guys fucking dreams of like, hey, if you buy these coupon inserts, like your place is gonna do good. And I'm like
Did it
watching.
work?
I quit after like 3 months because I was like, this guy is selling bullshit.
Yeah.
I was like, these people are like dying to get their now maybe not Kathmandu, but there was like a ton of restaurants that I was like, no one's coming with a coupon for your restaurant. From
Well, that was also
Outback.
that was also antiquated. This would have been for you, what, in the late 2000s?
This was like 2003 or 4 or something like that.
So that was towards the tail end when mail-in.
when internet was just eBay was just starting, Amazon was just starting. But like still, I just felt bad watching these people be like, hey, I'm like, who's opening these and being like, I'm gonna go get my tires rotated. And then I'm going to go buy 2-for-1 burritos at the
Yeah.
local burrito place that I've never heard of because I found a coupon in this envelope.
They gave a booklet of them to us in high school. Do you remember that? We had like a
Yes.
whole assembly at school, and they're like, "Hey, check out these coupons. Give them to your parents."
Valpak did that?
I don't know if it was that specific company.
Didn't they
but
sell they sell like, hey, if you sell these coupon books?
I think
Wasn't
so.
that like a thing in
It
the
was
I
something
feel like it
like
was in the
that.
90s. That was like a huge thing. Like,
Coupon books.
here, we're going to employ high school kids to go sell these fucking coupons.
Yeah, to, like go
to their
steal
parents.
information.
Honestly, not a terrible business plan because when I was 11, I did some freelance marketing for Long and Foster Realty.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, I was just walking around Towson Festival, and then this realtor was like, hey, here's a bunch of cars. Go and give them to everybody you meet. But, like, nobody says no to, like, an 11-year-old kid,
No,
you know?
100%.
Couldn't do that now.
No, it's smart. It's just like Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookies is the ultimate hustle.
It really is.
There's a bunch of cookies that are probably made with a bunch of shitty ingredients, but we put a Girl Scout on them, and then we're gonna have the Girl Scouts go sell them. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
We're gonna start having Girl Scouts sell pizza.
Girl Scouts might have overtaken Boy Scouts at this point, right? Boy Scouts is on the downfall.
Yeah.
fucked.
Our resident Eagle Scout can chime in on
I
this.
know. I feel like it's, Boy Scouts. Even when I was in Boy Scouts, I was like, this isn't cool.
Yeah.
I don't think the new generation coming up was like, you know what, we were wrong about that. I think they still think it's lame.
Yeah, but you had a cool troop though. You
I had a
guys
cool
smoked
troop.
and did cool stuff. No cookie sales.
We
feel like
we had to
it's-
sell popcorn, and then around Christmas we sold wreaths. I'm not sure why, to be honest.
I don't know anyone who's ever bought a wreath.
For some reason, like
So, someone's mom, I guess, who I've
Yeah.
met, probably bought a wreath.
I feel like a lot of like people in our parents' generation like.
I feel like if the Boy Scouts
fresh
sold
wreath.
weed,
Mm.
they should get.
It would help
Girl
with
Scouts,
the.
and it would go with the girl. You buy the cookies, buy the weed from the Boy Scouts, buy the cookies from the girls.
It would
There we go.
reestablish
They
the
have
Boy
to
Scouts.
rebrand.
And
to
then
They
they,
have
Bad
to-
Boy
they could
Scouts.
collab and make some edibles.
Exactly.
It would definitely make a lot of kids think it was more cool. Absolutely, 100%, dude. That was why I stopped doing it because I was like, "This is."
I'm gonna get.
And I was
I'm
a
gonna
loser.
I'm gonna get canceled for like insinuating children should sell weed.
Well,
I
not
feel like this is gonna come back to me in like
I don't
10
think
years.
so.
not
No,
children.
that'll be the
Scouts.
norm in 10 years.
Yeah, you're gonna get canceled for not agreeing with this
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get canceled for doubting it.
Okay, boomer, you don't think children should sell weed? Don't you know it's 100% non-addictive, zero health detriments?
It's organic.
That would help, dude. That would help. But you got some creations here. I saw you got the margarita. We
Yeah.
got the I ate a jalapeno bacon thing. I believe
It was the pickle bacon ranch.
pickle bacon.
That
ranch.
thing was like, so we did a pickle festival last fall. There was a pickle festival at a power plant, 6,000 people. And we sold 189 of those pizzas by the slice.
My God.
Wow.
Like, I've never seen, I was away. I was at a music festival that I was running. I was like, what the hell? It was like our biggest day of the fall. It was like this fucking pickle festival. And the pizza was good.
That's a good market because pickles. It's like a lot. I know a lot of girls that think it's like quirky to like pickles. Like
Right.
that's like one of the things that like just brag about how much they love
Right.
pickles. So I feel like when you have a festival like that, it's just like I feel like pickles really found their niche as like a food. You know what I
They're
mean?
definitely, I feel like they were shunned for a while. Like people were like, "Oh, pickles aren't cool." Like
Yeah.
nerds eat pickles, and now people are like, "Pickles are cool."
Pickles are cool, dude.
Girls love pickles. Hot girls love pickles.
Hot girls do love pickles.
Hot girls love pickles.
For some
Hot
reason.
girls love pickles and spicy food.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
And if they don't, guess what?
Not hot. You're not hot.
There's nothing less attractive than a girl who's like, "I don't eat pickles or spicy food."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like chicken fingers.
Yeah. I don't. I actually
Hey,
don't.
listen.
Chicken fingers,
Chicken
are,
fingers
good,
are good.
But like, if
But
you're like, I'm gonna pass on.
What if you get a nice
pepperoni,
little fermented hot sauce with it?
it's
Then
too spicy.
That's
When
great.
people are like, mayonnaise is spicy. Like, you got to draw a line.
Well, I'm just I'm just thrown off when especially with guys, but even with girls when girls like people are picky in general. Like I dated a couple of vegans
Yeah.
and it was just like
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's you just have to look. I've dated a couple vegans. And
You got
like,
to.
Here's my I summed it up because I'm really good friends with a girl I dated who was vegan, and I realized like we got along really well. It was very simpatico. It was like very chill, but like it. I realized I'm like, this is never gonna. I can't be with a vegan because
Yeah.
like I love food too much, and I want to go out to dinners. I want to go to places where you don't get to pick what you're getting. You can't. There's no vegan option at some of these
Yeah.
places. Like
Yeah.
pizza is really important, and we make a really good vegan pizza. But like, if you're gonna date like seriously and be with the person, like that's your life.
It's
right?
it's
So you
really
gotta-
it's unsustainable. I think even for I think in order and this is not a knock on vegans.
right.
Maybe eventually there'll be some knocks in this conversation coming from me as a judgmental person. But I was
like my chicken finger comment.
you're not hot. I was vegan last week for Greek Easter, and that's how I knew that it was the same time last year because last year when you came here, it was in the middle of Holy Week as well, in which I'm not supposed to eat any meat or dairy.
Right.
And then that night I was like, well, I can't not eat this pizza,
Right.
you know? So I did. But even during that week, it was like I would go to places and then like I couldn't bring myself to ask them like, do you have any vegan options? Because I couldn't bring myself to be that guy.
Right.
So like my girlfriend had to do it.
It's also a lifestyle. It's also it's not a knock on vegans, but if you're not vegan, it's a real commitment to be like, I'm gonna be with some, especially if food's important to you.
Well,
Which
it's on some
hard-
level
it's a
important to all of
lifestyle.
it.
It's a huge piece of a lifestyle. So it's like and you could do it with anything. If like somebody was like, I'm Jewish, right?
Mhm.
And if I couldn't date an Orthodox Jew who was hardcore Orthodox Jew, it just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Our lifestyles would not mesh up. So it's like a full commitment. So I
Yeah.
gotta either fully commit, at least at home, to being vegan and
Mhm.
cooking vegan and doing vegan dinners and all that all the time, or I have to say, this isn't gonna work because like I
Yes.
can't make that commitment. So
yeah, I'm not gonna sneak
I
out
know,
to get
like,
a hamburger.
I know
Sneaking.
somebody like that same girl is dating somebody who like made the jump to being vegan, and he wasn't vegan, and I'm like that's cool. Like
That's
that he
cool.
was willing. Like that's a real like commitment.
It would have been cooler if she made the jump to not being vegan, but yes.
It would have been easier.
Fucking, what did you bring us, by the way? This is Firm. This is a
That's
local.
Firm. So they're in Crofton. Excellent brewery. I don't like IPAs, and I love their IPAs are awesome. We just did a tasting. We did a tasting dinner there for Valentine's Day. 75 tickets, 6 courses, all paired with a different beer from them. It was. I think their beer is incredible.
I really do like this, and I'm also not an IPA guy either.
Right.
I think I'm a one IPA guy.
Their IPA is like I don't like IPA. Like if I take a sip of IPA, I'm like, ugh. Their
Yeah.
IPA, I can drink a whole IPA or whatever. It's really smooth and it's not too bitter.
It's definitely another one of those things that really popped off in the past I would say 15 years
Oh,
ago.
beer.
Well, beer, yes, but beer's always been big, you
Yeah.
know? Beer's had a great marketing team. Beer used to be like, before we had clean water, beer was like what you drank.
Right.
Like, beer has a longer run.
Damn you, Clean Water Act.
Literally, dude. Miller Lite's just moving in on Flint as we speak. Running Miller in the faucets.
Oh my God. We're decontaminating with beer.
I mean, but that is what they did, and apparently that was also what the whole purpose of the lemon with the water when you go to a restaurant was to disinfect it to some level.
Does that do?
Oh.
Does that work?
I
I've
like
heard
to
that.
think it does. There's got
Isn't
to be.
like the lemon very germy though?
Does it prevent scurvy?
It does prevent scurvy.
That's also a positive of lemon in water.
Definitely a
True.
plus.
You have to wash the lemons. Here's my problem with lemons and limes in soda or beer or whatever.
Guys might want to tune out for this one. This is
No,
this
I
is
just-
too hot.
You go to a bar and you're like, they put a lime in your drink and you look at it. And it's one of those limes that you know has been sitting there and the
Oh.
outside's been like breaking down a little bit. And I'm like, the fuck, who did this?
Gross.
Yeah, when
Did
did
you
they
not
cut
look?
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is this brown?
And limes were really expensive for a while too. During COVID,
Did you ever read up on the cartel shit with limes?
there's a cartel lime involvement.
Well, a lot of limes come from Mexico. A lot of limes, avocados come from Mexico.
I believe it.
So there was like cartel shit where they were like jacking lime trucks and like driving the price. It was like some cartel shit where it was like the price was being artificially driven up by like hijackings
Jeez.
of like cargo.
Wow. And specifically
of
limes, not
limes.
lemons. You
Limes
didn't
from
care about-
Mexico. Lemons I think come from, I don't know where the fuck lemons come
I
from.
think lemons can grow in California.
They definitely grow lemons and stuff in California, but like
Everyone's go-to excuse is like, oh yeah, it's a supply chain issue.
Yeah. I think
Sorry.
QR codes, I think that would have been the time to invest in big QR because they were on the downslope for such a long time.
QR
And
was so lame until COVID.
it revived QR.
It
Yeah,
did.
QR
It
was
did.
dead.
Like,
But then I think that's a perfect example of like stuff that annoys me now that it's like you're using as an excuse. Like now when you go to a restaurant and it's like, this is coming from a guy who had a terrible phone up until like 2 months ago.
Right.
Now I just have a slightly less terrible phone. But like you go to a restaurant and they don't have like you don't have one.
menu. We don't have menus.
Oh,
I gotta
really?
print them. It's on the list of shit to get to. I'm just busy opening restaurants.
Yeah.
We're gonna have menus eventually. We're getting a new cocktail menu, beer like bar menu, and then
Like I
Regular
get it,
menu.
but then at the same time, it's like I'll go out. Like my parents will come to like see me play at like a bar, and they won't have menus, and I'm like watching my like parents in their 60s.
right
And
try
it's
and
like-
figure out a QR code. It's
Yeah.
a pain
Yeah.
in the ass. I used to not be able to. I don't know. My phone like wouldn't read them right, and like can't get the shit to come up. I'm like, all right, I'll just starve.
Yeah, I guess I'll just guess. I'm assuming you have this.
What if your camera's broken? Then what?
Exactly,
You're
and then
gonna die.
you're not eating. You're not eating.
I'll just take. You have crackers.
Please, I went to the Towson Town Mall, Towson Talk, and they had on the door, instead of the hours, it was just a QR code that said scan for store hours. And I remember thinking at that time, I was thinking I should take a picture of this and tweet it and say something snarky about it, and I didn't. And then 3 days later, I saw a viral tweet from someone who took a picture of it and said something like, all you have to do is simply post the hours. And it got like 480,000.
Yeah, you can literally just handwrite it. It's just
It
like
was
the
insane.
ultimate laziness.
Yeah, there was just certain things. I think, we were talking about Towson Best. Towson Best, they still aren't having dine-ins. Come on, bro.
They're not?
They're not.
You know what they
No,
did?
they
You
are.
know what they did?
They
This
let me
fucked
dine
up.
in.
Towson talk. I noticed they got smaller containers for all their food and just charged the same amount. And like a lot of their food comes in some questionably. And I think Towson Best for takeout. Red Szechuan Bistro is my spot.
Oh, yeah.
Best
Yeah.
Chinese food probably
It's
in
just
the
like
Baltimore
authentic,
area, like one of the top Chinese food places in the whole Baltimore area. But Towson Best is that good. Like you're ordering delivery Chinese food.
Oh, yeah.
That place hits the spot 10 of 10. But some of those dishes come in things, and I'm like, this was $14. And like, look, I charged $28 for a pizza. Like I had to explain to a lady last night why like my pricings on a national level like is in line. But I was like, dude, they totally just like bought smaller things, and everyone's probably just still ordering, and no one notices, and like
No one notices.
Yeah.
and like, or you notice and you go, it's the pandemic.
You're not going to say anything.
like,
Yeah, it's
you're
pandemic.
just like, oh, pandemic. Restaurants had it so hard, but
The cartel is heavily
The cartel.
involved in big plastic containers.
the snow pea and water chestnut cartels are driving up prices.
You know-
they have to make it smaller.
Actually, your brother taught me the name of that term, which is shrinkflation, which is
Shrinkflation?
that's
Yeah,
the thing.
It's a thing.
Because apparently his company, which this is public knowledge, McCormick was sued years ago, way before COVID.
Right.
And I don't even think that they were so like basically what they were doing was they were just selling a product and putting less in there but keeping the container the same size. Like let's say
Right.
you're buying black pepper.
Right.
They would just put less black pepper in. Now, in their defense,
Like you're getting your Old Bay, and it used to say 6 ounces on the thing, and now it says 4, but it's the same damn container.
same container.
and that's a good
but
idea.
I was thinking that
As a
maybe
CEO, that's
it's a great idea. I mean,
as a customer, like I want in on this lawsuit.
yeah, you don't become Maryland's biggest company by fucking. I mean, come
They
on.
did it. The cereal companies did it. A lot of cereal companies like made their boxes, like the boxes got thinner, so it's the same frontage. You're staring at the same thing in the store, but there's 2 to 4 ounces less cereal, and you're just throwing it in your cart because you don't eat the kicks. Your kids do, and they don't know.
I believe in shrinkflation. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong. Like they put that there was a different amount on there. It's not like they lied and said
Right.
like
No, I think there's a level of like as a restaurant owner now. I mean, I dealt with this last night. I'm like, ladies, like this pizza looks like it's supposed to be a half. It was $47. I'm like, ma'am, it's $47. You paid $7 for delivery. You paid a $6 tip. So now and you ordered a Tiger King, which is a $33 pizza.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive pizza on
you're
the
in
menu.
danger, bro.
I'm like, and if you go to our website and you click on FAQ, it literally explains the serving sizes of our pizza. And it says Detroit style. And then I sent her menus. We charge $23, $24 for like a large cheese, like a full-size cheese. There's a place in Philly that's got great pizza called Philly John. They charge $23 for a 9x9. Ours is a 10x14. Cheese pizza, 9x9, $23. Ours, $23 or $24. I honestly don't know how much it is right now. But I'm like, we charge. And then I sent her Emmy Squared's pricing, which is, again, they only sell the half sizes. And if you double all their half sizes, it's more than any of our, like, if you buy 2 to make it a whole, it's more, any single one of their pizzas is more than the comparison on ours. And ours is thicker and it's more dough and it's more toppings. So I'm like, ma'am, like, it's not if you feel cheated, it's because you didn't fucking read the website and you didn't know what you were ordering.
Yeah.
And that's 99% of our, like,
Well,
pain
you
in the ass customers.
follow the most important rule of business, as far as I'm concerned, which is the customer is usually wrong.
I love we're getting into this.
We're getting into we can get
I
into
love
this. Have you read my clapbacks? Have I
Yeah,
said
No,
this?
I love
all
it.
the time.
Oh, dude. So like, my thing is like the customer's the customer and treat them with respect until no.
Until yeah.
And like,
Yeah,
and that's
until
what
it's
I tell
not
my staff.
reciprocated.
It's like, once it escalates to a level, like I'm like coming for people's throat. Like I had this one girl the other week. I'll tell a good story. And I didn't get to clap back. I think you probably saw it.
Yeah.
I posted I was gonna write a clap back. I even replied to her review and I was like, full clap back coming Sunday, stay tuned, folks. And I was like getting ready to do it. And I went to go write the clap back. And I don't fuck around with these clapbacks. Speaking of that,
they're
John
in-depth.
P from Baltimore County. You're fucking listening. I'm coming for you.
Oh, you know he's listening.
You fucking reported me on Yelp, and I got an email from them.
Yeah, we'll just post this
but,
stuff on Yelp.
But I'm gonna figure out who you are. It's gonna be Jay and Silent Bob. I'm showing up to your fucking doorstep. Anyway, so this girl orders food, right? Shows up an hour after her pickup time, and then it's complaining that like her mozzarella sticks aren't fully hot and her wings aren't fully crispy. Now, I brought these wings up.
Hey.
Got them extra crispy. She ordered them extra crispy. I left the store. They came up at 7:30. So I got here. You had them like, what, 8:15?
Mhm.
They were crispy.
They're very crispy.
I'm talking to her, and I'm like, can I see photos? Like, let me see what's going on with your pizza. She's like having an attitude about showing photos. Then she says she tried the stuff while she was there and then took it home and then threw it all out because it was just all bad. And I'm like, you're telling me you sat outside the restaurant, tried it. There was a problem with the food. You left, drove to where you're going, tried it again, still a problem, threw it out. You want a refund. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, look, your mozzarella sticks looked a little overcooked. I'll give you a refund for those. And I gave her like a refund for the mozz sticks. Anything else, I'm like, go fuck yourself. And she went and she was on Yelp writing a review immediately. And I'm just like, Yelp took it down. She actually has
really?
a Facebook review. I got to go clap back on that Facebook review. But she didn't tell. Like, she wasn't like, oh, I showed up an hour late for my food and it wasn't fucking hot and ready. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you at that
Yeah.
point. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean that in the sincerest way. We take our food very seriously. And I'm the first. I had somebody write the other day. They had our John pizza. Didn't have a good flavor. I had one the other day. I felt like the meat could be flavored better. So we're gonna revamp that pizza soon. Gave the guy a refund. I'm like, you're right. The meat was a little bland.
Yeah.
We got to make this better. This is not up to our standards.
Yes.
Let's figure. So I'm like, cool. Here's a gift card for another $30. You paid $30 for a pizza. Here's a gift card. I'm more than happy to do that. But like at some level, like when you're just being fucking petty and fickle and like it's really your fault,
Yeah.
fuck off.
Well, people, I mean, that's the characteristic, I guess what I was getting at is of a good business owner, because when you're actually passionate about your business, then it's really going to affect you, when you know you did you really cared that the meat wasn't flavored properly.
Right.
And so you take that, personally
And
and
I'll catch people lying. Like I've caught customers. Like I had one lady who wrote a review and it was like really like fickle and petty, and she was nitpicking, and she was saying she overheard shit that was being. It was 2 degrees outside, right? She goes, oh, I overheard somebody doing a curbside order. The person asked for fork, plates, and cutlery, and the guy said both the people she had negative things to say were the black person, and the descriptions were like not on. Like I'm like, nobody fits that description. She's either making up the people or just sees like color of someone's skin. And I was like, kind of getting this vibe, like
yeah.
like kind of racist Karen vibes, like whatever. And so I just kind of took it with a grain of salt. We gave her a gift card. She was complaining, but she was saying, oh, I overheard this server say this. And then like when you read the review, it was like, white people good, black people bad. Like the white people who work at your restaurant, oh, your GM's great. Or like this bartender was great, but this person did this and this person did this. And I was like, something's weird here. So I let her have that one. And then she had an issue again and she was texting and she said, well, I called and I spoke to someone and they assured me that the order would be made correctly. And I said, oh, what number did you call? She goes, the number for curbside. I go, oh, that's funny. It's a text line. So now you're fucking lying. And now I'm just letting you know, I've been waiting for this and I found you to be racist in this review.
Yeah.
And I'm banning you and your husband from the store. Don't fucking order pizza again.
Damn.
And she's like, what? It's a misunderstanding. And I was like, no, fuck off. Like, really? Like, I wanted you not to come back after this time. And we were trying to figure out a way to ban your phone number and email address from ordering. But we'll just I'm just going to tell you, don't come back.
Well, that's
it.
I worked in restaurants for 6 years. I worked at the Cheesecake Factory. I worked in where the hell did I work? Yeah. Well, no. Eric worked at. Oh yeah, with your Eric. Yes.
Bagel.
Who I would still love if he wanted to come on the podcast. That'd be cool. I've never met him in person.
Just FaceTime him later.
Oh, yeah, let's FaceTime, dude. So I worked at Cheesecake Factory. I worked at the Melting Pot, and I worked at Seasons Pizza. Seasons Pizza was a much more small, kind of like local franchise.
I know. I sent you the picture of their wings that one day.
Oh yeah. Let's not look, dude. Come on.
That's
It's
not
a
getting
sore
into that.
subject.
Let's not get in there right now. We're having a good time.
Matt, Pete, chill.
Chill. But Cheesecake Factory was this large, gargantuan corporation. Apparently, the largest sit-down restaurant chain in the world, which I did not realize. Like the highest grossing.
Their floor plans are so massive everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That makes sense. And they used. I mean, I know when I used to go as a kid, like it was always a wait on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh yeah, and there still is. But the problem is that when I worked there in the early teens, I guess you would say, it used to be all white uniforms, and like the white apron, and then you could like pick your tie. Yeah. But like the reason why they did the white uniform was so that you knew that you're like you can't like cover up if you haven't like cleaned your uniform. Like you're just gonna show dirt. You're gonna have like. You know, you're walking around a kitchen 8 hours a shift and like the bottoms of your pants are going to get dingy looking. And so like we would get like written up and sent home for having like dingy pants, especially me.
Yeah, Jimmy was never
Now
clean.
you just wear short shorts. Like,
exactly.
No dingy pant write-ups for me at this podcast.
So then right before I got released from there, they had transferred. I got transferred to Melting Pot. They switched to
as a dishwasher.
Yeah.
Take it off the floor.
They switched to black pants. Now when I go in there, they're all black. And so not the staff, their uniforms. All right. Woman's typing up the review as we speak. So the uniform's all black. And so it's like kind of like a representation of like, instead of maintaining their standards to stay what they should be at, they have lowered their own bar. So that now, but then what happens is when you lower your bar, you open the door for more people like me who don't want to follow the rules, and now it's harder to catch it.
Right.
And it's like you kind of bring down the integrity of your entire brand by doing that, which then when you bring down the integrity of your brand, you also bring in a lower tier of clientele as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's also like, I think there's a level of, filtering that goes on when you're hiring or you have staff, and that was probably a filter. Like, dude, if you can't keep your pants clean, you can't work here, right?
Yeah.
Like, my thing right now is I'm hiring and I have these ads going and like people are going, where are you located at? I'm like, if you saw my ad and you can't, and you wouldn't say, hi, how are you? Like cool, you can DM us and then click on, like, if you're going to message us through Instagram, because there's also an email address, like click on the fucking page and look where we're at. Like, go on Google. Like,
the ad that said hiring
I know
for
you're not going
Towson.
to go. Yeah, right. Like, why not go? You didn't read the ad. You didn't look at where we're at. You spent no time. Like, you're not. And like, look, we only have we pay really well. We have a limited amount of positions open. If you were one of the people who asked where you're located, the person who said the other day, I said, what do you want? Hey, interested. I'm like, what do you want to do? They're like, look, I want to serve, but I just feel like your company needs my energy. And I love that. No,
you did like that.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
look,
nice.
you're like motivate.
Okay.
To the person who goes, where are you located? Because I'm just too fucking lazy to click on your profile and look, or just spend 2 minutes in Google to be like, hey, is this a place where I want to work? Like, is it anywhere like close to where like I am?
Yeah.
So I just find it like, yeah, there's these filters. And so like the white pants thing it's a smart filter to be like, who's maintaining, who's not. But at the same time, like, they probably figured they probably couldn't hold on to people.
Well, that's the issue, is that like you have a company like Cheesecake Factory, and then when they bring down, I don't know, dude, when they bring down their brand, if you bring down your brand, like we're saying, it brings down the patronage as well, because like everything suffers if you're not willing to say, hey, you know what, you don't like my fucking pizza, don't come back.
Right.
If instead you're going, all right, well, I guess we got to bend over back versus this person and take money here. And certain corporations like Cheesecake Factory had made a conscious business decision. Because I remember them talking about it, how like, you know, like, and everyone knows. So like everyone knows that if you go into a big chain restaurant like that and you complain enough, they will comp your
They'll just
whole
do whatever. They'll give
thing.
and like, yeah.
And so what happens is if you're a server there and you know that this restaurant is placating to people that are coming in there to cause a problem,
Right.
to get their way, to stiff you, then any server worth of salt saying, I'm not fucking working here. Why would I work at a place that's not like I'm
Right.
getting stiffed on half my
Well,
tables?
you can get a good stat. Yeah, exactly. You're letting the customers dictate whether they're going to pay or not.
Mm-hmm.
They're and that like specifically that girl who complained. If you went through her Yelp, it's all revenge Yelps. It's all 1-stars attacking
Yeah.
places that like, oh, her nail. It was so funny because her nail broke at some place in Cockeysville, and my marketing director for Steve's was like, I get my nails done there. They're phenomenal. And she like wrote a 1-star like, my nail broke, and then I called them, and then they fixed it, but like blah blah blah. And like even after they fixed her nail, like she was bitching about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post the link to this podcast to hear her talking shit about me. That's gonna be my clap.
That's what I'm thinking,
Fuck
dude.
this girl. But anyway, so it's like so blatantly obvious that she's just like an entitled asshole who like goes to places, causes her own situation. I find it highly doubtful that like the place did her nails and like it was the place's fault that her nail broke. Typically when nails break, you're doing something that caused your nail to break.
Yeah.
So like, and then just goes on Yelp to try and get free shit because she feels entitled.
Yeah.
And like, that's who she is. And like, I'm not going to put up with that. And I'm not going to let my staff put up with it.
That's
Like,
the biggest thing.
you can't, because it's like, especially now, you can't get good staff unless you're good to them, which like you should be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But now, especially, like you got to look at everything and go like, I value my staff over this $30
Yeah.
or whatever. And Cheesecake Factory, like, yeah, man, like it would suck to be there and like lose like 3 tables that you've spent your whole night serving.
Yeah.
Cause like,
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say that. I mean, when you're looking at a company that's the biggest sit-down restaurant chain in the world, it's hard to say that they haven't figured out the answers to some things. But I live across the street. Basically, I live like up the road from the one in Towson.
Yeah.
and I can visibly see just kind of like how it's gone downhill since even when I worked there 8 years
Right.
ago. And you can't like when you don't stand up for your when you don't stand up for your brand, your staff sees that, it undermines your staff. And any, like I was saying before, any staff member who is worth their weight doesn't want to work for a place where they don't even feel like they're backed up by their own boss. So then the only servers you can get are the shitty ones or the ones that have no
Right.
other option. And then the people that do come in there wanting to have a good experience have a worse experience because you can't even bring the best staff to the table to serve
Right.
them properly. So it's like this big chain cycle of things all based off the fact that like you're not willing to stand up for yourself when somebody attacks you.
right.
You
And
know?
then, and the other side of it is from the restaurant owner perspective, something, some systems we've refined in the last couple months and some things we've done. Like when I look at a system and I go, well, why is this failing? If we're getting complaints about something or what's going on, I start looking at what I can do to make it easier for staff. Like everything's through text, right? We're getting ready to open 3 restaurants. So right now it's me and like my GM and another manager who like sit and watch these texts from the 2 restaurants. At the point we open a 3rd one, we're trying to hire like a central command who's just dealing with the text. When something becomes a problem, I don't want my front of house or my expediter,
Like a HR?
getting stuck on this text dealing with the customer's problem. So like it escalates and then it's off her plate and she's just dealing with the restaurant to deal with the other customers. So it's like looking at systems like that, we're killing like our 5-star reviews and 4-star reviews the last 60 days have been, they just keep coming. And I'm like, it's a testament to like, not just us supporting our staff, but because we're supporting our staff is fucking killing it.
Yeah.
And they're just doing a great job and everyone's coming in and they're happy and they're having a good experience. Whereas like when it's bad systems or it's not support, or you're like just taking whoever, like you have bad apples mixed in, like Cheesecake Factory, it sounds like you don't have those systems to filter out employees. You're just going to have shitty experiences and then you're going to lose your good customers.
Yeah.
The people who want to come in and spend money and be easy and like be like,
So it's all, it's just,
and it's just
perpetual.
It just drives it down. Like you fall apart.
So are you, at this point, you're about to open your 3rd location, and are you still very hands-on in the store? Because
We have a lot of meetings right now. It's like I'm back and forth between Steez, being a dad half the time, kind of figuring out where we're going from here, hiring more staff. I have like just hiring at both companies
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to build out that for Underground Pizza, build out that inner circle. I'm there making decisions. I'm in the store probably 2 to 3 times a week, like hanging out, like talking to customers, talking to employees and customers as well. And like figuring out, like coming up with ideas. I went to the pizza convention. We got to talk about the pizza convention.
Oh yeah, please.
It's called the Pizza Expo. It's in Vegas every year. It's the International Pizza Expo.
Yes.
White Rabbit Gastropub, awesome local place out in Frederick. They won.
Really?
They won the Pan Division for pizza, best pizza in the world. It's awesome.
In the world?
I didn't compete. They competed this year.
I'm about to go there.
They've got a bunch of entries. Like you have to enter in advance. You go there and you bake off the pizza and then you get judged. They won, which is awesome for Maryland. Like for Maryland to have like an International Pizza Expo winner is
Until you
awesome.
fucking stab him to death.
I'm like, no, I love those guys. Those guys do a great job. Their Detroit style and their pan pizza is a bit different than ours. They use some different things, but like they're great guys and they have a great business. And they have rad pies as well in Williamsport, PA. But
any other Maryland places compete?
I didn't see any. There was only I don't know how many. It's like maybe 50 or 40 like entries for the pan division. Like there's different ones for different divisions, but like this Pizza Expo, I keep just trying to tell people who aren't in the industry about this because I'm blown away that this is not like a tourist thing.
Really? It's all pizza.
It's all
guys?
like it's literally like a trade floor, like a trade show. Like, and they everyone said this year was small. It was like 700 vendors, and it's all just people being like, "Here, try this for free. Eat this pizza or eat this." Like, and it's like oven companies and dough makers and toppings and yeast and salt and they're all just like, "Hey, I made this pizza in this oven. Try it. Hey, I made this meatball sub with these meatballs. Try it." Like, hey, and it's literally just you're just eating. And then Stanislaus, who's our tomato company, had like wine and ice cream and the oil like the Corto oil company who we use was with it's all the same company. Stanislaus, they had ice cream and like all this food, and it's just you're just walking around trade floor eating vegan.
And you're saying this
gluten-free,
is not something that
I don't think tourists know about it. It's like
that's where you got to get Steez involved. Bro.
I know we need to promote that shit. It's got to blow up. I want to blow this thing up, and I just want to see a bunch of friends there. I was like telling like DJs who like have Vegas residencies. They're like, "What? There's a pizza expo in Vegas? Like,
dude,
oh shit! Like, I'm gonna have to go next year. Like, they're like twirl. So funny.
Yeah, can there be like a Comic-Con for food?
It's literally like Comic-Con for food.
That sounds great.
There just was one for PFG, who's our supplier. They did like a little food expo at Maryland Live in the expo hall.
Cool.
And that was awesome too, man. Like it was like all the brands they use, and it was all for all restaurant owners. I just went there one afternoon and just ate, like walked around, tried different things. And I was like, some of the stuff I'm like, I would never serve this in my restaurant, but I want a case for my freezer.
Yeah, dude. I hope
those things are all like those things are awesome. Like I'd never been to a food convention before. Now all I want to do is go to food convention.
a lot of times all it takes is just like, because it is weird, like you'll see certain things and you like wonder why it's not a bigger thing. Like,
Right.
I mean, we talked about before, Kathmandu. I don't understand why Kathmandu Kitchen is not freaking awesome. I don't like blowing up. I don't understand why Towson Best doesn't have like a poppin' bar. First of all, that'd be cool because there's not very many like.
I feel like if it's the aesthetic in there.
Well, they didn't. No, we love Towson Best, but
I love it. But if you walk in, it's just like.
They didn't really try too hard with the aesthetic. I mean, this
kind of looks like a classroom.
It does, and
Yeah.
they actually misspelled their own store name on their wall, which I still like. I get it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like they wrote.
Awesome.
If you look at the inside wall of the store, they have a painting that says Townsend Best. And like I get it, like
Someone
I love
did that.
that.
Yeah.
English is
dude.
not their first language, but
Right.
I maintain this that if I opened up a cheeseburger store in China and somebody was like, "Dude, this is the name of your store, by the way," and I'm like, "Okay, so then it goes like this,
Yeah.
and then you do this little thing, and
Right.
there it is, you know."
And
but
they'd
like
be
I don't know how
"Ha,
they.
He says donkey's ass on your wall.
I just don't understand how you mess that up. And I was literally talking to them about this the other day. I was like, dude, it'd be cool if you guys kind of got like, you got the whole liquor license. I'm like drinking a beer at the bar next to like
Yeah.
a box of like styrofoam containers. Like, why? What are you
That's what
doing?
I'm saying. Like their whole dining area is like, it's just boxes. It's just
Yeah, it's
storage.
storage,
You're
yeah.
just eating. We should do a thing where we just go there once a month to hang out.
We
drink
should.
beers late night. Like once I have the restaurant up here, like be like, yo, we're just gonna go hang out at Towson.
Yeah.
Dude,
have
they
some
got
have a
some killer
happy hour.
cocktails.
They did. I like how we're just reverting back to all the same ideas we had when we were like 16. Like, yo, we should just hang out at Towson.
Go to Towson Best, then hit Towson Fest.
Oh, dude, Towson Fest is this? What is it? Spring Fest? Is this weekend?
Towson Town Festival.
We should do a meetup, an LFG Underground Pizza meetup at fucking Towson's Best Festival. Oh my
That'd be
God,
awesome, dude.
That would be great.
Are you gonna
I'm
have?
down?
Are you gonna try to get a stand at the festival?
We might take some pizzas up there and just hand out some pies and be
There
like,
you
hey,
go.
we're open down the street.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, sell some bootleg slices.
Yes.
Just like the old good old
Some
days.
Good
Lucy,
old days.
Lucy slices.
Oh my God. That'd be great.
Carrying a slice behind you.
Just like fucking totally get shut down by the health department just for on a bootleg stand.
The health
like connect. We'll be like
department,
cooking it in the fucking unlicensed restaurant.
Is this
This will
this
go great.
this
It's a
will be
ghost
the,
kitchen, okay?
Yeah.
Come on.
this is going to be the second year that they've done it since COVID, right? Towson Town Fest.
I don't know if
guess
they did
so.
Fall Fest. I don't know if they did Spring Fest last year.
Fall Fest just isn't quite the same though.
Fall
I feel
Fest
like.
kind of sucked last year.
Well,
I
it's
didn't
not-
know
That's
about it.
new,
I live in
right?
Towson.
I feel like
And
that's
I go
new.
to the farmers market every week, and they did nothing to promote it.
People that like a lot of times creatives suck at promotions, and even more so non-creatives who
Right.
are usually the chamber of commerce who are creating these things.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm gonna
even
hit
know
them
what
up
that
this
means.
year. I'm gonna be like, hey, I got 45,000 Instagram followers.
Yeah.
I'll promote it.
Yeah, I want some tax. Like, how do you
Yeah.
like
right,
negotiate
right.
with the
Might
Right,
get a
city?
right.
liquor
Yeah.
license out of that.
Yeah, let me get a liquor.
Yeah, look at a liquor
Yeah,
license.
let me get a. Hey, for a liquor license, I'll give you a 3-year promotion deal.
There you go, dude.
Dude, it's so funny. It's actually funny you say that because I'm totally applying all this ridiculous like promoter shit to the business dealings of Underground Pizza. Like I went to one of the delivery platforms and I was like, I want a signing bonus to be exclusive on your platform.
Yeah.
And
fuck
I
it.
was like, and the sales rep was like, I'm not going to say who because I don't want anyone else to figure this out. And we're doing 350 to 400 deliveries a week out of Baltimore.
Uh-huh.
So like, they looked at it and they were like, okay. When we were talking about Silver Spring and Towson, I was like, I want a signing bonus to just be exclusive. And the girl at first was like, what do you mean? And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want you to cut me a check and you'll make the money back in a few months. I'll be exclusive with you guys, but like, we're only going to be on your platform. You're going to pay me up front to
Ooh.
only be on your platform. And it took like a month of trying to explain it. I was like, she was like, no. And I was like, no, listen, here's my numbers.
Do you
Take
know
it-
Joe Rogan?
I'm like, yeah, right. I
This is
said-
also for
I said-
1 year.
I said for a 1-year deal, I was like, take it to your boss. Here's our numbers. You will make it back in 3 months. And finally she was like, oh, my boss said yes. And
Yeah.
then I was like, and then I crunched the numbers. The numbers spiked up. Like, right. It was like, I started talking before Super Bowl. Since Super Bowl, you'd think Super Bowl would be our biggest week of the
Mhm.
first quarter. Super Bowl was good. The week after was okay. Every week after that for like 8 weeks was bigger than the Super Bowl week. We were like, what the fuck's going on? Like, we didn't even know what was going on. We're like, can't explain it. We're just selling a shit ton of pizza.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I started to look at the numbers and I was like, fuck, I shorted myself on this. And I just went back to her and said, you know what? We're going to do it for a year. And then we're going to come back to you with a bigger ask next year. How about that?
Boom.
And I said, and we're going to take it to the other platforms too. And see if they'll give us the signing bonus. But like, that's something you do with ticketing companies as a promoter. And like, it's unheard of. And the girl was just
they just don't get
the
it.
girl was like, what? No. And I was like, no. Take it to your boss. And like,
Yeah, no
a few
one's
weeks
asked
later,
before.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, she's like, all right, we'll do it. And I was like, it was like 5 digits. It wasn't like a small signing bonus.
And also it's like it's good because I always look at it this way too. You now taught that person a thing too.
Right. And now
So-
they'll consider it later down the road and they'll start using it as a tactic. And the reality is, no matter what, at some point it's quant based. It's based on numbers, right?
Mhm.
And I already know I'm doing the numbers. So it's like, I'll get it. If they're doing the payday eventually, normally I'll get the highest that I can get. I don't think there's anyone doing more delivery gross wise than us in Baltimore City. Like 350 orders a week. I think the highest we had was 410 or something like that. 408. deliveries.
And at your price point for sure.
And it's not like it was funny. I was talking to a pizza guy, like this guy who owns a few pizza places at pizza conference. And I was like, well, we're doing this, we're doing, I think that week it was like 1,300 tickets or something, or like 1,100 tickets. He goes, oh, cool. You're ringing this much? I go, no, we're ringing twice that. And he like didn't realize that our price point was so high that like the same amount, he's doing 1,800 tickets a week. I'm doing 1,100. I'm doing more tickets than him. His eyes were like, wait, what?
Well,
like,
it's good that you come into the business with that, like we talked about last time, with that kind of like promoter mentality. Because like I was saying, it's like so many people, like all these things require different talents. Like to have a great business that makes great food does not necessarily mean that you know how to get your name out there.
Right.
And very few people have all those talents. You see a lot of like musicians, comedians, anything like that just don't know how to be like, to sell themselves, like you don't have any leverage to walk into a bar and be like, dude, like a lot of people, that's why a lot of artists wind up getting ripped off and things like that. Because they don't even know what they're worth. They have no idea.
And they don't know, like, it's like, yo, you have this talent, and somebody who has, if you don't have the marketing or you don't understand it or have people in your inner circle that you trust, you end up in this kind of like vulnerable position where you need it.
Yeah.
But like you get taken advantage of a lot of times, or you just don't go anywhere. You're just unhurt. Like, you never get there. Like I was talking to him, a friend of mine called me today and was like, hey, I want some help with this artist. He's like, she's really talented. She works as a, she's an exotic dancer, and like she goes to Vegas and like New Orleans to dance. She makes $1,000 a night going to dance. I looked at her page. She's hot.
Nice.
And like,
verified hot,
but
confirmed
apparently
hot.
like, and this guy's been in the music scene for a really long time. He was in a really successful band for a while that's broken up since.
It's like, dude, I've been in the scene for a long time. This chick is hot.
He moved to LA. Yeah, right. No, but like she's super talented, and like she's very attractive, and like she's tried to get put on, and like everyone she's gotten Me Too'd, or not, she hasn't gotten Me Too'd, but like the producers and the other promoters and the managers who have tried to work with her have like tried to hook up with her because she's a stripper and she's good looking and like
talented.
But the other side of it is she doesn't fucking need it because she can go out and work in Vegas for a week and make $7,000.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't have to just be a struggling artist. So she's also stepped back and been like, I need to find the right team. And she found him, and he's married, 2 kids, and like they're really close. Like they've become like more of a family unit, and now he's helping her build this team that she can trust. But if you're in that same position and you don't have a revenue stream, you don't have income, and you're just a struggling artist,
or God forbid you're not hot.
Well, I mean,
geez, that's
actually probably better because at least guys aren't trying to like hit on you for things, and they're just looking at your talent and not just trying to.
Yeah, that is definitely when you talk about male privilege in the music industry. I know that
100%.
if a straight guy says that he wants to work with me, it means something. Like, hey, you really do think I'm talented, you know?
Right.
Granted, I'm sure if I was a hot chick, I would have had way more offers at this point.
Right.
But like, how many of them been real? You know?
Right. And it's just like, it is a male-driven industry, and it is, it's a situation where like there's definitely what's the word for it? Like power dynamics at play, where you see, these like, and it goes both ways. There's definitely power females as well who have like been in that position, but it's definitely a male-driven industry where like that power dynamic is taken advantage of all the time with women.
Oh yeah.
And like it's guys just trying to get laid as opposed to trying to actually do the work. And like, if you're not attractive, like, or not a hot girl, like, and someone's coming to you and trying to work with you, it's probably genuine.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot of people who like have connections will try and use they can't use the connections. They just try and use the leverage of it.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So, and it's just great. There's so much has happened.
Yeah.
COVID has like exposed a lot of shit, and there's definitely been a lot of bubbles popped with.
Oh yeah.
That whole like the whole power dynamic side.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I will say, like we first hit me up, we were talking about the it's weird, especially now, and I think that looking back on everything COVID wise, like it's weird now because it does feel like we're in a very different place.
Yeah.
Like just tangibly. It just feels like
it feels like it sped everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it cross industries and think about how we're selling food now. Like food sales have changed, how restaurants sell, like power dynamics in like all of the Harvey Weinsteins, the Base Nectars, the all of the scandals tied to like
Was Base Nectar? What happened with him? Was he a bad dude?
yeah, he was basically caught. Speaking of power dynamics, a girl came out. There's like a whole thing. It's like exposing Base Nectar on Instagram or whatever. But he was basically caught like he would DM girls and befriend them at the ages of like anywhere from 14 to 17.
Ooh,
And
he was
like there was some
grooming?
questions about
Grooming.
he was grooming girls
Oof.
basically. And then when they would turn 18, he would try and hook up with them. And like, or he would hook up with them. And like girls, he would make girls feel special. And then he would fly them to shows. And then he would make them just, they were, the stories that I've read and like I've spoken to, people who have been through this with him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oddly enough, I was talking to my girlfriend about it and she was like, yeah, he DM'd me when I was underage.
Really?
And I was like, that's interesting.
Jesus,
That's-
dude. He was
but-
casting a wide net.
Like,
Jeez.
yeah, the guy's like, I don't know. Like,
I
it's just a
guess
crazy. It's a
You get the work ethic, I
reading
guess.
the stories. Like, we worked with him for a while. We had a real falling out because of his entitlement and his feeling of like larger than like he basically. And I'll just put it out there. I don't fucking care anymore.
Yeah.
I never want to work with the guy again, so it doesn't fucking matter. He literally like he played Moonrise a couple times, and then he started treating Moonrise like it was his. And his like agent at the time
like
was
he
like
made it or
his
something.
agent like
Well, how long had you been doing Moonrise at that point?
he played like I think it was like his 4th year was the last year, but it wasn't really making money at that point. Like it was like we were just getting into like the event was doing well and like starting to like turn a profit like on a macro. But he just like treated us like he owned us. And I was like, we have to go in a different direction strictly to like, cause this is our event. And like, that was my kind of put my foot down moment was like, let's not do this again because this guy is like out of his fucking mind. He used to be like, say shit. I love that I'm like getting to say this now. Cause I'm like, I literally could care. I haven't cared for the guy in a very long time. It's 2016, I think was the last year he played.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's been 6 years since I was like fuck Base Nectar. And so with him it's like he would be like I want the event every year. I want all the stages to shut down so the whole crowd is at my stage. And every year I'd have to go much
Of
like
course not.
much like the Travis Scott thing. The only thing I could say any reason, but like the only thing that would get through is it's a safety issue. I can't shut down all the stages.
It's COVID.
It's a safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
It would
It's a,
cause a
supply
crush
chain
event.
issue,
It would cause a
actually.
crush. Yeah, I would be like it's a supply chain issue, but I'd have to explain that, and that's how they would back down. But like, my God, I'm like, this isn't your fucking event. Like, there's 4 stages going. Like, you're playing one of them. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And like, it was such like, yeah, it was just, and I've had this with other acts before, but never like this guy. Like, it's like, well, he feels like he's a partner in the event at this point. I was like, oh, well, he's
Why?
not.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
That's so strange. Even like going back to the whole like grooming thing, it's weird because we were talking about something before the podcast did, and obviously there's so many examples throughout Hollywood of that going on. And it's weird that's like it's weird because especially when you get to the level that he was at, it's like, dude, realistically speaking, if you want to DM like a 20-year-old girl or a 21-year-old girl and use the fact that you're fucking Base Nectar.
Right.
To fly this girl out and bang her.
Right.
That's totally, I mean, at least in my book, it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, you're fucking Base Nectar. Like, you
Right.
want to hook up with chicks.
And it's like,
Do
look,
it.
you have the star appeal, but there's a level of like, you need to like look. And I think COVID, like the conversations that happened during COVID, it wasn't necessarily COVID, but I think everything being shut down and being slower and like everyone having to look at shit closer. And like look at what they were doing and look at behaviors, I think we realized let's look at what we're doing and be like, is this a really good idea?
Yeah.
Like, let's take a step back and be like, do you realize that like you're talking to these girls, they're only interested in you for your career and your music. they don't you. If you were some guy off the street, they probably wouldn't be DMing you back.
100%.
And like,
As a guy off the street,
you're
I can
using
confirm.
that to get young and impressionable girls, and you're trying to convince them you actually care about them
Mm-hmm.
and that you want to be with them, and then
And you're doing it for years.
and like years,
Yeah.
like
just make music,
it's-
dude.
right? Like,
Just-
how about don't and like I don't know what I'm sure my psychiatrist would have some ideas, but I have no idea what that power. Like, you're talking to a 15-year-old and telling them do good in school and like convincing them to
school.
like, hey, like, and then when they're 18, you're just waiting for that birthday. Hey, happy birthday! You should come to a show with me.
Yeah.
Like, or even sometimes before that. And it's
You're
just
saying your psychiatrist should be able to tell you what would make him want to do that?
I just
perhaps?
don't understand like I mean, I guess it's like some
Is it a weird thing with music? I don't know. Okay.
it goes on.
It's just
I'm
like a
sure it
power
goes on.
thing.
I mean, it goes on too. We were just talking about Boy Scouts, right? Like,
Mhm.
there's definitely some power dynamic shit in the Boy Scouts. Like, there was like sexual abuse.
Why
right?
is that so? Like, I don't like. I mean, Louis C.K. had a bit about it, which was obviously like a crazy bit, but it was like kind of like I remember listening to him and be like, "Damn, that's kind of like interesting point," because it's like, why is that so prevalent of like the younger kid thing? I don't get that.
It's something typically. Have you ever read anything from Tony Robbins or like looked into Tony Robbins?
I've looked into him. Yeah.
He's always like, yo, it's either your mother or your father, right?
Mm.
Like, this thing that you have, like these actions, these behaviors, these things, like, it's something tied to your relationship with your mother or your father that's driven you to have this, because those are your most impressionable years, you know, those
Mhm.
first 10,
Yeah.
15 years. And you look at it and you go, oh, yeah, like, I am this way because of this. And like, I, like, you know, like, just that's typically what it's tied to. Or, you know, there's extreme cases of sexual abuse and like people go through things that are traumatizing and it drives them to do stuff like that.
I have a
but-
theory. If we're
ahead.
willing to entertain it.
Always.
I think that perhaps with certain, and I think this applies to musicians or not just specifically musicians, but artists in general, because the coming of age as an artist is usually like as you mature and become who you are, and it's then when you become cool. So like I feel like a lot of people that are like super like big musicians might not have necessarily. I mean, this doesn't apply to everyone, but I'd be willing to say that like a guy who like is famous for making like dubstep, maybe he might not have been the coolest guy in high school, perhaps.
I think it's mixed backgrounds.
Uh-huh.
I think the Bass Nectar story is an interesting one, because I think
Yeah.
there's definitely, I've seen these actions with other artists before. Like, there's artists where I wouldn't go backstage because I'm like, and we had to like tours where we're like, all right, it's 21 plus backstage now, because like we caught a 19-year-old drinking,
Mhm.
and like these guys are going out, like stuff like that where it's we can tell there's some kind of problem going on with the abuse of the power dynamic. And I didn't know it at the time. I just remember one show at Ram's Head.
Yeah.
We like it was like the night we decided Ram's Head is now 21 plus backstage at all times, because
Yeah.
something made me uncomfortable. Somebody from my team reported something or whatever. And I said, it's typically some damage to like that person somewhere in those years prior, that typically high school, grade school,
Yeah.
family, just you weren't that cool. Now you're trying to make up for it. Like,
Exactly.
those
I think
things
Yeah.
definitely happen, but it's just like, dude, like there's plenty of 21-year-olds out there who will like come
fuck
back
you.
and party with you.
Mhm.
Like, you don't, and like there's been a decent amount of artists canceled in the EDM world for abusive behavior.
Yeah.
And-
Pop punk
and
was
it's-
another big genre for
That was
that.
a huge,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
There was a
Fucking Warped
guy.
Tour.
And it's like, yeah, all your music videos are about being in high school, like, and you're 28. So I mean,
Right.
I don't know. It doesn't shock me.
There was a
Yeah,
guy.
you're still
We did a
talking
couple.
about jocks.
We did a
You're
couple.
30.
We did a couple shows with like these guys that were from the pop punk scene but got into the bass music scene early on. And they had this huge network, and like one of the guys had like, after we did a couple shows, someone's like, "Why are you working with him?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, he's in New England. Like, guys promote." And they're like, "Dude, like everyone hates that guy." And like, let me tell you the stories from Warped Tour. And I was like, never talking to this fucking guy again. Like, we're done.
Jesus.
And it was just like, yeah, like that was that scene before. And it's like, is it opportunist? They move, like this guy probably moved from one scene to the other. Hey, where are the young chicks at? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
it's definitely
Also, how normalized it was. It's crazy to think. I remember I really picked up on this. I was watching an episode of Seinfeld. I've been watching Seinfeld recently.
dude, you know Steve Bannon makes money every time you watch Seinfeld. Right?
Really? How?
He's an owner. I don't know the full story, but he owns like the publishing right. He's a part owner on the publishing rights to Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah. So every time you watch Seinfeld on Netflix or whatever,
Steve Bannon's
Steve
like,
Bannon
hell
gets his
yeah,
wings.
baby.
Steve Bannon gets his wings. Yeah, he's like making. I like stopped watching Seinfeld because I found that out. Because fuck Steve.
Well, that explains this episode. So it's this one episode, and it's a familiar episode. It's when they are trying to get the show. Like they're trying to pitch the
it
show to NBC.
Yeah.
And they go to the dude's house, like rooftop Manhattan type
Yeah.
penthouse, whatever. Rooftop, so white trash. Penthouse.
Top floor.
Top floor. And they go up there, and his daughter comes out, who they had already blatantly described as a 15-year-old girl. But then the whole bit of the scene is the fact that, in fact, it's the whole bit of the
George
episode.
Costanza one, right?
Yeah,
Like,
well, I mean, she comes out and she's just standing there. And I know in real life she's not 15, which is why I'm perfectly happy to say very attractive, obviously very hot. But she's playing a 15-year-old, and this goes deeper, which is why I kind of have a problem with shows like Euphoria and stuff because, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but I always find it odd when you have extremely attractive 24-year-old Sydney Sweeney playing a 16-year-old that's naked in front of you and getting fucked. It's like, this is fucking with people's minds because that's not this isn't like how 16-year-olds fuck. I know this for a fact. B, this isn't exactly this isn't how it worked, but you're basically making a weird kind of and I haven't seen the show. I hear it's great, but
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to watching it. I just don't watch shows in general,
Right.
really.
I
But
just don't know why they're trying to make high school cool.
they're trying to make it hot, high school. Why am I?
Here's a question though: is it edgier? Is high school edgier now? Like, are kids we had some? I mean, I went to a city school for 2 years, and then I went to Lower Merion High School, Kobe Bryant, Lower Merion High School, right?
Mhm.
And the city kids. Have you ever seen the movie Kids, the Harmony Korine flick?
I have not. No.
Yeah, dude, that, that's what my There was a whole crew. I went to a high school that had 3,000 kids at it. There's a whole South Lawn crew that was they used to haze kids, freshmen, and I mean really haze.
Give them AIDS.
Put kids in fucking trash cans and roll them down a hill into a wall. Shit like that. There was kids our high school was kids that. Not all of them, but it was very, but not. I feel they were super edgy, right? But now I feel all high school kids because they have the internet.
I wonder if
Instagram,
it's more or less edgy because I feel
I look at Euphoria
I think it's,
and I'm
edgy.
is that what high school's like now?
I doubt it.
I don't think
feel
so.
like it might be though. On some level, I feel like kids are just advancing, not maturity, but mature knowledge. They're getting access to mature knowledge,
Yeah.
guns and drugs and sex, and they're getting all of that quicker.
I could see that, but also there is this type of culture nowadays that's very aware of that at the same time. Whereas back in the 90s, I guess just to complete what I was saying before about that scene in Seinfeld, where the girl bends over and they're just looking at her what they call cleavage, which is a very 90s way of saying whatever. And so they're looking at it, and then the dad catches them looking, and then they're like, oh, come on, man, blah, blah, blah. You can't blame me for that. She's walking around, blah, blah, blah. And then so at the end of the episode, they get Elaine to wear a super low cut dress, who Elaine is just amazing. And then she basically proves a point by leaning over in front of him, and then he gets distracted because he was not going to give him the show because of that, and then he wants to give him the show because he's oh shit, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the whole premise is it was this young girl, and it's that kind of joke would never fly now, where it's culturally back then it's even the beat, you look at the songs the 80s where the Beatles, she was just 17, if you know what I mean. And then there was the other
Jerry
one.
Seinfeld was dating a high schooler probably during that time of Seinfeld.
Probably.
Was he known for
Yeah, he dated
schooler?
literally a girl in high school,
18 or I
Like,
guess she's in fucking high school. Like,
yeah.
doesn't. Oh, she's a. What's your excuse? Oh, she's a senior.
She's a senior.
Like, cool.
But like it was such like a normal. There was other song I forgot. The one song that's like blatant. I forgot what the band
Well,
is, but they're like,
look at all those. Look at all the little things though that have changed. Like I was talking to someone about the bass nectar situation the other day, and they were like, "Well, he didn't do anything illegal," and I go, "Well, using the N word's not illegal. You can still have your life destroyed for that.
Yeah.
So, like being a racist piece of shit's not illegal.
yeah,
People
but there's
can still tell you to
consequences.
go
Yeah,
fuck yourself.
yeah,
And like
Yeah.
you could have like your business life or your personal life ruined for that. And so like all that shit, like, come on. Like we've all heard growing up, we all heard some family member who like made some racist ass comment that you're like I have family members who I don't even associate with anymore because I think about things they said when I was like 12, 13, 14. I'm like, they're just racist pieces of shit. And I tell my parents that. I'm like, fuck them.
Yeah.
I don't talk to that side of the family. And I got into it. One of them's a fucking Trumper, and I got into it with him.
Mhm.
And I was like, bro, like he blocked me on Facebook or he deleted his Facebook or something. And like, I'm just like, yo, they're fucking racist. Like, and you can't be like that anymore. And the shit that I used to see 25 years ago, like fat, close people say, like people I don't know, like it's like people I grew up with or people like around in the neighborhood, like, or in the environment or like even family, like would say shit and like the shit they would say if they said it now would be like, and I think that's a good thing. Like as a society, we've gotten better.
I think there's two sides to that coin, and I think the I guess what I would say is that when I look at like a guy who's in his 60s, and like I do factor in the fact that just like we're talking about like certain things like could be put on TV, like at the end of the fucking episode, Jerry Seinfeld has a whole fucking bit about like killing yourself and like people that fail at killing themselves. Like, damn, you couldn't even do that right. And like that's kind of like but like back then that was just like on network television. Like you would just say something like that and people probably didn't even bat an eye at it. And so like when I talk to like a 60-year-old person or so, it's like, and they might say something that I would deem unacceptable. Now it's like, I don't think that makes them a bad person because I also fully accept that in 50 years when I'm 80 or whatever, like there's probably going to be shit going on that I'm not going to be down with because even though I might think I'm like with the shits now, it's like at a certain point you get set in your ways, you get used to the way you come up. I don't think that like if you look at like the way Abraham Lincoln would talk about black people, it's like, was he a bad guy?
I think there's a curve for like once you get, oh, they came from a different, you say things like they came from a different era, but you can still correct them. But I think people I'm referring to are a little bit younger.
Yeah.
And I think it when you look at, here's an interesting one. Like, do you ever go back and have you ever watched like the old Woody Woodpecker cartoons?
Yeah,
old
yeah,
one where they like have heroin and like laudanum and like there's just shit that like they would put in entertainment. Now, cartoons used to be adult entertainment back then.
Yeah.
That was not like there wasn't Saturday morning cartoons. Now Woody Woodpecker eventually became a kid's cartoon, but like it's the same way. It's like, yo, there's shit that like used to be okay on TV or like you could joke about or like the Seinfeld thing, but like it's not really funny because when you start to peel things back and you look at scandals like Boy Scouts or church and like now you're talking about like actual like people are taking advantage of kids under 18, like the bass nectar thing. And like when you really look at it, like you do need to take a step back and say like, hey, it doesn't go on anymore because that was a joke. And like maybe the Seinfeld thing was a joke, but like it's really happening at a level where we're not correct enough as a society that we should be joking about that.
Yeah, I
think
can see that.
It's definitely like, I think that's for a lot of things. I think we need to look at, and I think COVID and like what's gone on since COVID started and a lot of things have like been brought to the surface. And it's like, if you're uncomfortable by what's happening, like maybe you have to look inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like, you know, you see what's going on in Florida right now. Like,
Yeah.
if gay people make you uncomfortable, like I've never known any gay person to like turn someone gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of gay people. Like, it's not contagious. It's not a transmissible thing. It's you're either gay or you're not.
Yeah, it's not
Or
like
you're
syncing
like-
up a period.
You
or...
kind of know, I understand. Like, actually, I don't. I don't know much about the youth thing and like I don't know a lot about that, so I don't talk on it. But like when I see politicians so filled with like energy to stop things related to, and like, look, maybe some of the laws, like we're never getting the laws right on the first time. Ever.
Yeah.
There's ever a fucking government body passing a law. Like they nailed it on the first time. There's revisions, there's changes. Like, but like to come out and try and ban laws, like laws that are supposed to be more accepting, instead of looking at it and going, well, what is this? What is like? Do you see like the bathroom laws in North Carolina and shit?
Yeah, which I didn't know wasn't. To be honest, I didn't know it wasn't a law already because I had always assumed, up until that law reached mainstream media, I had always assumed that if I were to just walk into a woman's bathroom, that someone could call the cops and be like, dude, this dude is just like, I really thought that. Like, if I'm just at a restaurant and I just like walked into the woman's bathroom, was just like I thought somebody could reasonably call the cops. I really thought that.
Right. And it's like,
I didn't know it wasn't
like
a law. I thought it was like a custom.
Here's the reality. You don't, I don't know. Like I thought about the bathroom laws a while ago. It's like, they're not catching like the laws where they're using unisex I'm trying to remember exactly the law, but like it was like they weren't like no transgender people aren't going in trying to like assault your children they're trying to use the bathroom they're most comfortable in. That's what those laws are built to do. Allow people to use the bathroom they're most comfortable in. Bathrooms are private, especially women's rooms. So like you're not, I mean, urinals are a bit different, but like if you're in a women's room, you're probably in a stall, and like it's more likely you're going to see some like fucked up pedophile in there trying to assault your child than a fucking transgender person who's just trying to use the bathroom they're most comfortable in.
Yeah.
But no, like, and I hate to harp on the Republicans because there's plenty wrong with the Democrats too. Don't think I'm like some like bleeding heart liberal that's like, oh my God, Democrats are always right. Like I have plenty of problems with both sides of it, but like the energy put into some of these fucking law, like this whole Florida thing, and this whole Disney World thing, DeSantis is doing this just to fucking get political clout. The law doesn't go into effect until June 2023, and I'll bet anyone who wants to bet me, first person, not every person, $1,000 that it never goes into effect, and Disney World is never affected by this law that was signed into.
I could see that being true.
It's just not, and like the reality is, the other side of it is, it's going to cost taxpayers in Orlando like $2,500 a household.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure they're not going to be fucking happy about that.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the because I know what you're referring to.
So basically,
about
like the law. So it's like the "Don't Say Gay" thing.
I know
like,
that one.
He to be vindictive. Disney World got some kind of special classification to basically be their own government and their own the 84 million acres or whatever they have. They have something in the 1960s where they dictate their own thing. Like they're not. They're not
so like
part
the
of the tax
local
base in Orlando. They're their own thing.
Yeah, the 51st.
But
state.
like they also pay for all their own water.
They
and
gotta
pay
be
for all,
for DC.
Like there's all this shit that like they're responsible for their sewage and their plumbing and their this and their that. All the stuff that a government body would be responsible for. So like he took that special privilege away with this law. It doesn't go into effect for 14 months. And he's like, because of like they're speaking out against and fighting the Don't Say Gay law. But it's like, what is it not going to be that like, okay, the Don't Say Gay, we can't talk about things that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we need to fucking talk about the things that make everyone uncomfortable. And like, we need to stop fucking baiting with like things being like convincing people that like, oh, this is like, this shit is so bad. Like critical race theory. It's so bad to know. There was a funny ass tweet that was, somebody like Tom Cotton, like one of those asshole Republican senators was like, so many years ago, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. Blah blah. It was such a tremendous day, and blah, blah. And somebody tweeted back like, "Yeah, it would be great if people could learn about why."
Yeah,
because like all they're doing is trying to like. It's like, look, let's just fucking talk about it.
It's
like,
weird when you have, and this is what I find interesting because there's so many examples again, like you said, on both sides of where. You have basically in this country, you have the two-party. Well, it's not supposed to be a two-party system. It just has devolved into a two-party system where you have basically two in their essence. And this is, I think, is a weird concept for a lot of people to grasp, but that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans are the government. They're private companies.
Right.
Just like AT&T and Verizon, they are not phone service. They're a company that wants to be your phone service.
Right.
So you have these private companies that are against each other. It's kind of like I almost look at it like it's like the difference between like a married couple raising a child or a divorced couple raising a child, where it's like there's this certain amount of like animosity between the two parents that then affects the child because it
100.
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
a great analogy because it's like none of you are serving. Like it's really hard at a national level and like even a level of state level. And I thought, Larry Hogan has his faults, but like as a Republican, I thought he did a really good job. Just as a politician, he did a really good job with COVID to a
Yeah.
level. Like he got a lot
Definitely
of
better than most states.
Definitely better than most states, and he was somewhere in the middle between like all out like alarmist behavior and like too loose behavior, and he was like very by the numbers and watching what's going on, and like it's rare you see that in this day and age. Everything's political theater, everything, and maybe it has to do with the fact that he wasn't trying to get reelected. He's done after this term, and it didn't matter. He was just trying to save lives and like keep people.
Well, he definitely has aspirations, I think, beyond the governorship, and I think that he definitely earned a lot of points with the Democrats and the Republicans if he does decide to go take it to the next level. I will say that you look at the way it's almost like negotiation in a way. So you see one party do something that's like extreme, and then the other party feels like they have to do something extreme against it. And then I guess the theory is that like, okay, we're going to propose this bill that's like way too far this way. Right. And then we're going to propose this bill that's way too far. And then we meet in the middle somewhere. But what that does in the process of this two oppositional parties basically in some weird form of negotiation is that it divides everyone. Most people aren't 100% on board with everything Democrats say or the Republicans. But then when you pitch it like that, it's like, and again, COVID was a great example of that because you have like one side that's just completely like, dude, fucking don't stop anything. Don't do anything.
We can't stop
It's fucking fake. And then you have the other side that's like, no, maybe we should not do anything.
Shut everything down.
Ever.
It's like,
and it's like most people aren't either one of those things. And you see that when you saw people in their personal lives that everybody kind of fell into like their own idea of what was appropriate for how to handle it. But then at the same time, a lot of those people would be vocal like on the internet or something like that as if they believed one way or the other. And it's like, but dude, like you still do this. Like you might be like a really staunch Republican, but like you still, when you visited your grandma at the hospital, you like made sure to like take certain precautions because you were aware. Or on the other hand, it's like, well, you're like super vocal about being but that you still hung out with your friends without masks and like, but then you'll yell about people not, it's like.
You want to hear the pettiest thing I did during COVID? I would like I don't know how, but I started getting like ads for the Virginian pilot. I guess because I commented on some articles. We do some business in Virginia.
There you go.
And so I don't know. I found some really like real troglodyte bottom dwellers on there. And I would just troll them. The ones who are like, COVID's fake, blah, blah. And I would just troll the shit out of them. And this one guy who fucking ran for governor, the guy was like, COVID's fake, blah, blah. COVID's fake, whatever. And I would save the fucking statuses where I'd troll them so I could go back to them and be like, well, how'd that play out?
Mm-hmm.
Really, yeah. Really petty shit, but I was bored during COVID.
And it's fun to be, fun to be like that.
It gets good. So the guys, and this is fucked up for me to say, but like the guy who ran for governor, I guess his brother got fucking COVID and like either died or almost died. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that fucking played out, didn't it, buddy? And I was like, oh, this is fucking just sweet fucking, what's the word for it?
Karma.
Sweet karma. Like this guy just being like, lockdowns. And this brings us to the point of why I wanted to come onto the podcast, which was,
please.
And this is what I literally texted Jimmy the other day and was like, I want to come back on the podcast because I remember I was like going off about Americans are so soft. Like anyone who called what went on communism and fucking, oh my God, lockdown. We never had a fucking, you want to see a lockdown? Go look at China. Go look at what the fuck's going on in China right now. I think it's in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. Like they're literally locking people in. I watched a video of a guy being told he couldn't get out of his truck until he was COVID negative. And he said, what do I do if I have to go to the bathroom? They said, turn around and stick your ass out the window. Yeah. That's what they told the guy to do. What do I do for food? We'll bring you food. We'll bring you X meals a day or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, Americans, if we bitched about not being, like, I get it. Like, no business was more affected than the entertainment business and the live music business. Like, I get it. Business was affected. Restaurants suffered. Like, my entire business was shut down for It was March 11th until Memorial Day weekend was our first show back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I get it. Like, but we never suffered like a real lockdown. Like a don't leave your fucking house or we'll shoot you.
I saw a
lockdown.
video the other day of everybody, I guess, I forgot what city it was, maybe Shanghai.
Yeah.
Where they were all locked in their buildings, but they were all
They're
like
banging,
screaming and
yeah,
stuff.
and banging on the door.
And then they were flying a drone around with loudspeakers across the city, and in the English translation was "Control your soul's desire for freedom," and it was like it's such a morbid kind of dark message that you're getting from the government. But I would like to raise, because I'm glad you brought this up, I would like to raise an alternative angle on the whole fact that China underwent what they're going through and still going through right now, is that I would almost be willing to say that part of the reason why we're not, like, why you look at certain countries like that, which are completely totalitarian and are able to tell everybody, is maybe a testament to the fact that we're not soft.
Right.
Like, I don't think that you could have gotten Americans to that point because we live in a country where we're allowed to express the fact that we fuck you. You say that in China, you disappear.
100%, because there's due process and there's court systems and there's
And that was all fought for and died for.
It's just 100%. And that's like what I said, like in a lot of this shit, I was like, look, it'll be tested. It'll be put through. Even the mask mandates on planes. Like, look, I was Mr. like everyone fucking mask up. And like my last flights, I think I flew to Vegas for Pizza Expo. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, can I just take this fucking mask off for this flight? And like it got tested and it got shot down. Like, it's no longer like Omicron's not fucking Delta, right? Like I had Delta. I got Delta in August. I've never felt like I was like a few steps away from going to the hospital and I self-medicated. No, I did not take horse dewormer. I read a couple studies on
gargled bleach
on some NAD plus boosters that they were using, and I took a clinical dosage of. I don't recommend this at home. I'm not a doctor. I missed my call. So this was crazy. This is actually a fucking crazy story. So I had like congestion or something and like a headache. So I go and get tested, test positive. I go home. My son's got a runny nose and congestion. And I'm like, he's got COVID. And I'm around him. I had been around him the day before. I hung out with him for a day. And then I called a doctor that I know at Hopkins who does, worked with Moonrise. And I said, I knew he works in the ER. And I was like, what? Do I need to be worried if like I have it, my son, and he goes, look, like if you have it and yours is worse and his isn't, like he said, just generally like don't be around him because you can give him more of a viral load. So we separated, and then I made my his mother take him to get tested, and he tested negative. He had been around me, and I was vaccinated at the time, unvaccinated, but he was still nursing, so he had some immunity from that. He never got it. It was like crazy. So then like I missed my call for the I called my doctor. I got on the list to get called for the monoclonal antibodies, and I hadn't slept. I couldn't sit still. Like when I tell you, like sitting on the couch like this, I was in pain from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes.
Yeah, full
And
body.
I wasn't sleeping well, and I fell asleep in the afternoon on the Friday and like missed the call for monoclonal antibodies to get on the schedule for Saturday. So I'm like, I gotta wait till Monday, and then I might get in Tuesday. I was like, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. I was in pain, like not level 10 pain, but like consistent level 6.
Yeah, it doesn't turn
pain.
off.
And it was like everywhere. It felt like something turned all of my, you know, when you get like cramps from potassium, you know, my whole body. It felt like there was no potassium in my body. It was like just pain. So I was reading these studies on NAD plus boosters, and I was like, fucking ordered them off Amazon, and I took the clinical dosage. I shit you not. I took them Saturday morning. Took 900 milligrams. I took 900 milligrams Sunday. I was back at my desk working on Monday.
Jesus.
From like being bedridden on Saturday. So it was crazy. So I lucked out. But like,
no, I see that. Like, I think that, I guess going back to just the whole way things have been kind of shaping out the past 2 years, I see the fact that, like we were saying before, things in terms of COVID seem like they've changed significantly just within the past 3 months. And I think that is a testament to the fact that like we still, even though we kind of have taken this, I think both sides feel like the country's going to the shitter. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
both sides are looking at it as like, oh my God, this country's going downhill. But even amongst like this incredibly like pessimistic, weird time, we still managed to like, looking back, I think there was a lot of paranoia on the conservative side that like this was never going to fucking end
Right.
regardless. And then, so like, then you see that like, okay, we had like peak times where like it was incredibly locked down. Obviously, like me being a musician as well, like I didn't play for like 6 months and
Right.
had to work as a delivery boy. And like, then you're wondering like, is this ever going to be, and then you look at a country like China where you were saying like they're killing people's pets and shit, which is like completely not even at all rooted in anything scientific
You
at
said
all.
they're killing people's pets. I wasn't sure.
I said that earlier.
You said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We said that.
I saw
I'm
a video
sure they're doing
of
it.
people
For
No,
reasons
I've
we
heard
don't
that.
know.
Like I've heard, I know they did it early on. You're the second person to say that to me. Like,
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either,
Yeah.
but I believe it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw some videos on Twitter, just people being like, yeah, like when a person gets locked down, if they test positive for COVID and they have an animal, they just like take out the animal.
Jesus.
and they're separating families, and there's like real like
Yeah, and
real
there's like
lockdown shit. But it's just never in my head. I was like, this is not a plot by the Democrats to lock us all down. The Democrats don't like. They're also, at least on some level, they're somewhat fiscally responsible.
I
to,
think it was a
like-
plot by both parties to appease their most extreme bases.
But they were, yeah, that was I feel like that was the political theater of it.
Mhm.
But there was like, remember all the fucking conspiracy theories that it's the fucking, oh, they're just trying to lock us down. They're trying to get us like conditioned to be like okay with this. I'm like, it's not, like, it's just not gonna happen.
Mhm.
Like, there's plenty of things where they hide shit in bills and like fucking tap our phones, and the CIA is listening, and they're probably listening to this podcast, and they'll probably fucking go arrest Base Nectar, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. So, but I'm saying like there's definitely like these conspiracy theories that this is these wild fucking ideas that like this is somehow gonna lead to like this dystopian society where we're all in camps. Like,
I
it
do
never
miss
fucking happened.
I do miss the times, and what's crazy is it did happen in other countries. Obviously,
Yeah.
I do miss the times when being a conspiracy theorist was cool. I miss those times. I miss like when I was in like
I miss
middle
fun
school.
conspiracy
Right.
Yeah, like
theories.
just like it was cool to like be like, and did you know that in 1913 the Federal Reserve, and you're like hearing about all this, and like then you look at like shit that happened like what the CIA was doing in other countries, and it's like it's mind-boggling the shit that goes on, and I do think there certainly is a healthy level of like when something happens, especially something that extreme. Like, look, in the same vein, like I definitely was not really ever on board with the full lockdowns. I never was. I never was
Right.
like I never was full COVID ever. Like there was a time when I was definitely more about like I would wear masks at the beginning because it was like I felt like,
Right.
and then as soon as I started to get like a vibe that it was like there was more than what was actually happening in my day-to-day life, it was like I kind of like eased up on it and like. But I do think there's a healthy amount of like I don't like when this person says something or that person says something, I don't believe either one of you motherfuckers completely.
Right. 100%.
And I don't
But
care
it's
what
like,
your credentials
you know,
are or
it's-
anything.
It's so weird you say that because it's like we obviously Baltimore finally lifted their mask mandate, and at the point like I was like fucking over it at that point.
Yeah, and that seemed
But
indefinite.
I went to like we were opening in Silver Spring, and I remember walking around there in the couple weeks coming into it, and like people are wearing like masks outside,
Yeah.
like everyone, and
Mhm.
people were looking at me funny for not, and I was like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah.
is this really like, are we really like judging people who don't wear a mask outside? Then you got people like, you ever notice that the worst drivers are always wearing masks right now? Like, nah, but it's, I think there's like a healthy level of skepticism with all of this,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also like, everyone just wants to believe it's something more. I'm like, have you ever heard of the theory of Occam's razor or whatever it's called?
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, yeah.
Mhm.
Where it's like the most logical explanation is
Probably
the
the
most
most logical.
probable. It's like, no, they just didn't want hospital beds to fill up
Yeah.
because triage situations are really fucking scary. And that, I think that's what's going on in China. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but like their per capita, like hospital beds per capita is probably so much lower than here.
Of course.
And like, they're probably like scared shitless of being overwhelmed in their hospitals. I have no idea what their hospital system is like, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine they have more beds per capita than here.
I think the main mistake that when conspiracy theorists Because again, I think that term has gotten a very negative connotation recently.
Well, Q did that for us.
all my favorite people were always the ones that were like, you could sit down and talk about like I said, like the fucking Federal Reserve and just get it deep into shit. And like, it's cool. Like that, there was a time when that was cool. And now it's kind of like, oh, you're a conspiracy. And it's kind of this weird thing. I think that the rabbit hole that people go down too far is a major mistake, and they overestimate the competence of the people that are controlling shit. Like
You're talking about the U.S. government that couldn't get. They have all of our addresses. If the IRS wants to send us a letter, guess what? You're gonna have it in 2 days. They couldn't get us all testing kits. Omicron was over before the testing kits showed up that were coming to test for Omicron.
Yeah.
Like that's the U.S. government you're talking about, and like God bless them, but like they are not that fucking put together, and neither like. Look at how incompetent most large corporations are and how they become the larger they get.
Dude, look at how incompetent most people are. I mean, it's like, it's true. It's like when you when you step back and you realize that, like, when I hear that like some politician made some law, I don't think, like, my first assumption is not that there's this diabolical plan and there's this incredibly manipulating, like, cabal. I just think it's some politician who's scared for his position next year.
Right.
And is trying to do what he thinks is going to appeal to the biggest base of people to get him his job next year. It's a fucking nerd who chose to go into fucking politics in the first place. And then your entire job for all 4 years is to try to make and shake hands with people so that you have enough campaign donations for your next fucking run.
Right. And that's all it is. It's just fundraising.
And so when
it's just political positioning and fundraising. No one's ever like, hey, they're trying, universal basic income in Baltimore. Did you guys see that?
Really?
Ooh.
They're doing a test program. I didn't read the details on it. I just saw a clip about it, but I'm like, that's actually something that is probably going to end up working.
Perhaps.
And then, I mean, and look, if you're listening to this and you don't know what UBI is, they're basically taking all the social programs that they pay for and they're just stopping them, and they're taking all the money and just giving it to you. Now I think people are just going to waste the fucking money.
Yeah, but at that point, it's like you can't. Like I always found universal basic income interesting. I never got completely on board with it. I do think it would be interesting to try it, especially in a city like Baltimore where it's like fuck
nothing
it.
else is
try
working.
it, try it.
Why the fuck not? I give Brandon Scott credit for going.
It's like,
hey, like let's fucking try this.
I definitely think that there are. I mean, people will say that. They're like, well, if you just give everyone money, then people are just going to go out and spend it on. But it's like at that point, it's like, well, I mean, at a certain point, the best you can do is give people the resources to make the right decisions.
If it takes you 8 weeks to get a fucking test kit to people, maybe you should just give them the cash to go buy one.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
a pretty good logic.
And the alternative is to like tell people what they have to do.
Right.
And I don't want to live in a society where I'm told. I would rather live in a society where, hey, dude over there, here's $15. Here's $1,500 a month, and you can use this to go do this or that.
And
if you don't,
you, people who needed food, the majority of people who needed food and got an $1,800 check or $1,200 check, whatever you got, used it for food. If they needed food.
Sure.
And like, there's plenty of people who fucking wasted it on some Nikes or like fucking, some computer or like whatever, something they maybe didn't need or maybe needed for something else, wasn't like basic, but like you gave everybody the money and they figured out what they needed most. And I feel like an overwhelming majority used it for things like that they needed.
For
Gas,
sure.
food, rent.
That being
Shit
said,
that
there
they
are a
needed.
lot less radical, crazy things that we could try in the city that I feel like we've completely overlooked. Like, I mean, playing in Fells Point and stuff like that and seeing like the way a lot of those businesses were treated and like, watching bars get music citations and being told they're not allowed to have live music. But then if you want to set up a speaker right in the middle of the fucking square, it's like, it was almost like there was this weird, like, animosity towards small businesses in certain parts of the city.
I think it speaks to what's the word for it? Like the ineptitude of government on like larger levels. Like when you're just trying to govern. And look, Brandon Scott came in 2020? Like it was came in COVID, like who fucking knows? Like, I mean, who know? Like, it's really hard to run a city, let
Yeah.
alone a state, let alone a country. And if you're in the middle, like here you go.
Yeah.
And to his credit, like, city was a fucking met. Like, the administration before him just stopped answering the phone in like September.
Mhm.
Like, people just quit. Everyone got fired who didn't quit, and everyone just stopped working in like after, like, it was maybe even earlier than September. It was like I couldn't get people on the phone to figure out like, hey, we're gonna do this thing, or like, no, it was even earlier than I feel like it was after the primary. Like,
Yeah.
everyone just stopped working in City Hall.
Well,
So like,
this is, and you would know more about this than I do, obviously, being a business owner in the city.
yeah,
I work in the city, Eric works in the city, so we have some level of understanding of it to a certain degree. But what scares me is, just like we were talking about the two-party system before, what you see in cities, and this doesn't apply to the Democrats or the Republicans specifically, because I think this would exist in any single
it's
party.
it. You get one.
It's just the Democrats. And so it so happens in Baltimore, it's the Democrats. And like, when you see that, like, there's one party that is in control of every seat, every position, all 15 council members, the comptroller, whatever the hell other positions, and the mayor for the past however long, and like understanding that the political party is, like we were saying, a private company, a private entity, that like I look at like the people that are risen through the ranks within that part. It's a given that whoever wins the Democratic primary is the mayor. There's obviously no opposition.
Yeah, and it's not taken seriously on any level. And I think like,
So in order to become mayor, you have to rise through the ranks of the Democratic Party.
Right.
And in order to rise through the ranks of the Democratic Party, I think that's what if you're relying on the party to get a platform,
Right.
then at a certain point you have to play ball with what they want
Right.
you to do. It's like getting a promotion to manager at your company.
100%. I think there's a level of that. There's a platform, and I think like there's been such a I feel like it's been exposed on a lot of levels in the last few administrations prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
Just like corruptness, like kickbacks, money changing hands, and like a lot of shit got exposed over the last like 10, 15 years, maybe a little longer. And then you ended up in a situation where now, like, it seems like a lot of the stuff in the city is cleaning itself up. Like,
We're trying to,
it's
yeah.
trying to, and it's like there's actually, I mean, there's definitely still some like people can't get out of their way. There's egos, like not necessarily in a city hall level, but like seeing some things with like stuff we're trying to do, and like I think we're just getting to a better level where like people are actually out. Like, we're doing this Reggae Rise Up thing, right? And we moved it to Port Covington, and like what we're trying to do down in Port Covington, working with those guys with some events, we're trying to create some like community, not outreach, but like community uplift. Like, we're figuring out how to work with the 501c3s tied to the Port Covington area and like lift them up, create a platform, and raise funds.
Yeah.
Then we're like, hey, well, I've got the restaurants, like Steve's Promo's got, needs for interns, like Condor Inc., who's like one of our partners. He's a labor company for like gigs. Like maybe we do a job fair, like for the SB7 and like for like the Cherry Hill area and like that whole community area. There's 7 communities in that area that are all tied to the SB7. It's like the South Baltimore 7. And like working with these organizations to like uplift the community and give back and do things. And like we're like just moved this event over from a city park over to the Port Covington to the south, like where South Point used to be.
Yeah.
We're calling it Port Covington.
Yeah, where Sagamore is now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but over on the other side of the peninsula, but it's an awesome event. It's got Soja,
Cool.
Pepper, Dirty Heads, Dirty Heads. What can I think of? Slightly Stupid.
There you go. Is Ballyhoo involved?
Ballyhoo,
Pasadena?
I believe Pasadena's not playing. They had another gig. Ballyhoo, I believe, is playing. We got Protege. We've got
Cool.
a bunch of like really good reggae acts playing it, and like we're trying to pivot that or like piggyback onto that. Like, hey, we can do these community uplift, but like that's going on in different areas of the city. There's other things, like there's other business leaders who are like, hey, like let's do some cool shit and like lift it up. Where like it just hasn't. It's been a lot of that activity in the last 2 decades has been people like me who go, not necessarily a promoter, someone exactly like me, but going, how can I leverage this relationship to line my pockets?
Yes,
Right.
but
And that's a problem with Baltimore. Like, and you also have a lot of like leg cutting. And like I feel like we're finally moving past that point. Got some cool shit going on. Like Moonrise is happening. Insomniac, who's like the biggest EDM promoter in the world, is now, they took a majority control of Moonrise. They're operating it now. That's awesome for the city.
Yes.
Like, how does that brings it up? These things it was so hard to get things done 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When Moonrise started in like 2012. Like we had to hire a lobbyist just to get meetings with the city, just to get Moonrise to where it is. And now I feel like the right person, the right conversations get something done. But like, it's so hard to operate in the city. Whereas like other cities, you can literally walk into a permit office at noon and have a permit by 4:00 that day. Like,
well, yeah, I mean that's kind of goes. I guess what I was getting at is like, there seems to be this thing. Well, it's obvious that like if you have, there's no incentive if it's guaranteed. Like the community building that you're talking about, I don't think comes from the elected officials necessarily, because I think what you're experiencing right now is Baltimore got to a point over the past 10 years where then you started seeing businesses kind of be like, you know what, like, and I'll point back to Fell's point with what they did with the taxes thing. It's like they kind of put their foot down and were like, look, dude, like, we expect certain things to be a certain way. And if you're not going to do that, then we're going to make it happen. We're going to understand our leverage in this and tell you how it's going to be. Because otherwise, if you're a single party locality and you don't have to earn people's votes at that point. You don't have to answer the phone.
Right.
Because you're going to win next election anyway.
Right.
So what's the incentive to improve? What's the incentive to make anything better? You're not worried you're going to lose your job. Right. So it's like, then you have guys doing what you're doing, and and so in that aspect, I guess it all points to me. It points in the direction of, like you said, other cities you can go get a fucking you can walk in and get a permit by 4 p.m. In this city, you got to you used to have to hire a lobbyist
just to get the conversation,
just to get the conversation
over the hill.
To me, it's like maybe the solution is get the fuck out of the way.
That's what it is.
Get the fuck out. And
It's
that's why I look at
like
universal basic income. Like, it seems like you guys are finding ways to get more in the way at this point.
I almost
Even
feel
though I
like,
don't disagree
I feel
with
like UBI is like almost get out of the way. Like, hey,
Yeah,
instead
you
of
could
like being responsible for managing this program and creating it, where someone's going to stick their hand in the hot hat and take their cut and like take advantage of the program, which seems like it happens a lot with programs in this area.
Dude, it's
some kind of social program that's funded by government money, it's run privately or something, and someone's fucking pocketing something. Hey, we're just going to give people money this time and they can just go figure out what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot better than like, hey, we're going to do this thing and like we're going to manage it, but we're going to bring in outside people to management and we're going to hope that they're honest. Like, it just, in larger cities, it doesn't seem to fucking work.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't.
And like getting out of the way is, hey, we're just going to give you the money. Like, just figure out what you want to do. Like, I think
simplifies everything.
Yeah.
So you're a UBI guy? I
think I'm UBI.
I'm like on the fence. I haven't.
You were kind of Yang Gang for a bit, weren't you?
I just liked his idea of like, dude, you're already selling all of our information like to advertisers, and it's like, just give me the money for it. Like,
right.
I'll take a cut.
Give me a 50-50 split, and we'll just call it even.
It's my shit.
You have the platform. I have the information. You can sell it. You have to give me a cut.
And worst case scenario, it would be a good kind of experiment. Not saying that I want our city to become a lab rat for
but it's look, we'll see how it goes.
And then if it winds up working, then you can impose it on a larger level.
Right.
But it's kind of hard to convince. I think that was where it's like, in Andrew Yang's position, it's like, it's kind of hard to convince a country to completely go that direction.
Yeah, but
it's
the people
Can we
who
try
are
this in
against-
Towson first?
I feel like once everyone got their stimulus,
the 21286 zip code, please. But it was like, it's like when you look at Yang, like everyone's so, he's like, oh, universal basic income, and everyone's shitting on it, and it's like, like there's one side, the naysayers are going to find that one case of the person who went and bought a bottle of Fireball and crashed into a school bus of kids with their universal basic income and not talk about thousands of other people that like uplifted themselves with like those funds like create opportunity and options and like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So it's like it's definitely an interesting one. I mean, I'm sure, dude. Knowing this country, we'll fuck it up some.
That's I think that what you were saying about the stimulus. What were you saying
Yeah,
about
I
that?
was just saying like everyone was so poo-poo about universal basic income because they're like, I don't want free money. Like, I want to earn my money and then pay half of it to taxes. Once everyone got their first stimulus check, just that free $1,200, I think everyone was pro universal basic income.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
but they don't understand. People don't understand like subsidies, government assistance. Like when you're like trying to explain to someone like holding a bag of fucking candy with corn syrup in it, I'm like, you know why that bag's so cheap, right? Like
Yeah.
the government subsidizes corn.
Mhm.
Like, wouldn't it be cooler if corn was just corn products were just regular price
Mm-hmm.
and we just got those billions of dollars into our pocket that went to corn? Like, I'd rather not buy cheap candy.
It's
And
weird.
then
That's why I
just
find. That's
like,
why I find.
just give me the money.
I find
it's
UBI
real.
to be such an interesting concept. And when I say interesting, I'm still on the fence about it.
They're
Uh,
and don't get me wrong. They're going and looking at other programs where they're wasting like corn subsidies and cotton subsidies and like a lot of like the subsidies for. There's a bunch of
Just
there's like
agricultural ones.
I remember reading this and I don't know if it exists. And Trump said he was going to fix this shit. I just want to keep score. Like they never went through and audited like budgets and like there's like subsidies that have been like wool subsidies and like shit that's been on the record books for 70 years. It's just like, yeah, it makes some things you probably don't buy. We most of us buy corn syrup items and like commodity fed beef all the time.
mhm.
And like that corn that we feed the beef is subsidized. That's why that's why the beef is so cheap,
Mhm.
right? The feed is what because they have a feed ratio. So like every 10 pounds of corn you put in creates 1 pound of beef or whatever the fuck that feed ratio is.
Mhm.
Now, the government buys corn at $1, whatever it is, $1 a pound. They set the price.
Mhm.
If the growers grow enough corn that the corn price by normal supply and demand would be 30 cents,
Mhm.
the government still pays the farmer $1 a pound. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Right? So that's how subsidies work.
Yeah.
The government doesn't use their own money to pay for those subsidies. They use your tax money.
But that's all the government's money is.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
yeah.
I'm just trying to explain in the most basic way. So like,
Yeah.
what people don't realize is like there's a bunch of shit that you don't use. And what a lot of Republicans don't realize is like there's a bunch of shit and it's Republicans who are pushing for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like shit we're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's our money. And like what they'll do is get rid of these programs and then you'll just get universal basic income and you can decide what you want to spend money on at
Yeah.
a fair market price.
Well, what's funny about this conversation, this is why I think that UBI is, like I said, such an interesting concept, is because like subsidies and things like that is obviously more government control over industry.
Right.
And for a lot of like conservative leaning libertarian people, they don't want government involvement in the market on any level. So what's interesting about UBI is it's this weird combination of like, we don't want government involvement, just
Right.
like you don't want government involvement, because but that's the problem with the kind of like we were talking about before, that kind of like what is it called, not duopoly, but that dichotomy, like the two things, the
Right, the
polarization is like,
yeah.
you know, like you either have to think this or this, and it's like then you look at
You
the
just
best
go,
argument.
I'm in the middle. I'm like, fuck both.
That's what it is. And the best argument I've heard for UBI, and what I truly believe, and I'm not necessarily convinced that something exactly like Yang was proposing, or I don't even know what the city is proposing. I don't even know. But what I think is an inevitability is that even when I walk into like McDonald's, I remember when we were in high school, we'd walk in and there was like 4 people at the front and like some people doing shit in the back, and you walked up, took the order, blah, 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 blah. And that's, you're looking at it. And then I walk in now, and now there's like 4 kiosks in there, and there's like one dude at the front just like making sure everything goes smoothly. And then
Right.
you walk into the grocery store and there's 10 fucking aisles of like cash registers and not a single person at them. There's just one person watching over the 4 self-checkouts. And I'm looking at, I'm like, that's 10 jobs right there. And I guess what I'm getting at is that like you're looking at how the technological advancement gets to a point where it makes so much unskilled labor, like
Right.
being a cashier, like being a front desk person at this place or that place, it makes them obsolete. And so as technology improves to the point, because the whole point of technology is that, well, this kiosk ultimately is going to cost you less in the long run than paying this guy X dollars per
Right.
hour. So acknowledging that it's only going to become more and more advanced, then you're also kind of acknowledging that, like, here it comes. Bless you.
I'm allergic to this. Yeah.
You're also kind of acknowledging that there is going to be a point when a large swath of the population, for lack of a better term, becomes obsolete and they
Right,
don't
but
have a
think
way.
But I don't know if that's the case, because you think for every one cashier that's gone away, there's 2 DoorDash drivers now.
Sure, sure.
Dude, we have.
But those DoorDash drivers were delivery guys that worked for a company before, and now they just are rogue working for everybody.
But like 80% of the restaurants delivering food now didn't deliver food before.
True.
Cheesecake Factory never had delivery drivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, not only is Cheesecake Factory have delivery drivers, but they've done an analysis of their line. They figured out during their busiest hours how much of their line they used, and now they have a ghost kitchen that does the other 30% of their line that they're not using, right? So now they have 2 restaurants operating out of there. There's apparently, and I don't know all the ones. You can Google it. There's a bunch of ghost kitchens that are just like corporate ghost kitchens that, like, Olive Garden now has Bubby's Tacos.
What was the big
right?
one? Chuck E. Cheese had
The pizza. So like,
Yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese didn't fucking deliver pizza before the pandemic, right?
yeah.
So like,
But now it starts with a P or
forced-
something. Yeah.
Yeah, it forced them
Sounds
to be
very
like,
Italian. I
Yeah,
remember.
it's
yeah,
like
it forced them.
Pillagios or
It forced a
something.
bunch of companies to be like, "Yo, we have to innovate to generate revenue." And now suddenly, they're employing, let's just call it 3 delivery drivers a night that work at that they generate enough money to pay 3 salaries for delivery drivers by doing delivery, and 80% of the other restaurants who didn't deliver before the pandemic also do that.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a bunch of delivery driver jobs that basically exist because of the same technology advancements that created the fucking
True, and it would be interesting to see if that was an even balance of transition.
And trust me, the shitty fucking cashiers from these places who can't deliver either, and they were shitty cashiers, we're banning every single one of them when they fuck up a customer's order, because like, it's really fucking bad out there with the delivery drivers.
Well, that was my pitch for UBI, and you shot that down. So
No, but it's like, look, I think universal basic income like allows people to go, well, what do I want to be doing? I think my biggest thing when I'm hiring right now is people go, I'm interested in the job, and I say, well, what do you want to do? I don't know anything. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound very interesting. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to cook? Do you want to like wait tables? Do you want to wash dishes? I've plenty of people who go, I wash dishes.
let's
I'm like, cool.
let's take this a step higher.
You also pay like $16.50 an hour to wash dishes. So
Well, I mean, yeah, then I want to wash dishes too. Because it's interesting to say, what do you want to do?
right.
Great philosophical question. And a lot of people don't know the answer to that.
Right.
What do most people want to do? And that's a rhetorical question, because I feel like in a lot of ways, I think that when you look at the jobs that most people do, it's not jobs they want to do, it's jobs they have to do. I don't know. I feel like there is, like, especially when you look at like the kind of like Marxist way of looking at like an ideal utopian society where like everybody like gets to do like provide for the thing in their own way. And it's like, I'm looking at it, it's like, I don't necessarily believe that if given their own devices that I would say the majority of people don't necessarily think in terms of like, this is what I really want to do. I don't think most people
are
even
like,
thought
yo,
about
I just
it.
need money. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, and it's like, for us, it's like the wrong thing. Like, I just don't like, but I think it's going to force people into a negotiation with themselves of like, I have free time. I have this money. And like, look, plenty of people fall off or like waste the money or do whatever. But like, there's going to be people who are like, yo, I'm really good at editing photos, or like, I'm really good at like multi-level marketing for like, hey, I can buy a drop ship.
Yeah.
Like, I can start drop shipping. This $1,000 you gave me, cool. I turned it into 10.
Boom.
Dude, I was fucking selling pizzas out of my trunk in a parking lot. Like just a little under 2 years ago. I've got 3rd restaurant opening next week. Like, I really I love the pizza grind. Like, I do. And like, I didn't know I was gonna love. I love food and I wanted to be in food, but like I fucking love the pizza grind. Like I love the food thing that I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea I could do this on this level.
I also
And
think that
like,
you're kind of unique in that.
yeah, but I think there's other people. Like, dude, I see it. I follow a ton of food people, but there's other people. Like my buddies of it was funny. I was hanging out. We had Millennium down in Hampton, Virginia at the Hampton Coliseum this weekend, and my buddy came in from Atlanta to shoot the show. He's a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like talking, he was like, you know, masturbating to other photographers' work on like Instagram. Oh, this guy. I go, oh, is that like,
I'll do that.
and just the way I follow other pizza pages or I follow other promoters, he follows every music photographer and like photographers he likes. And he just, and it's like, you're going to put yourself in that environment where you're following the people, like you're getting at, like if that's, what are you looking at online? Like, what are you spending time doing?
Yeah.
Somebody gives you enough money to go chase it a little bit. Like, that's fucking sick. Like,
Yeah.
but a lot of people aren't going to do it. A lot of people are, I think people are scared. People,
Yeah, it is. It is a interesting question to try to decide: are most people not of the entrepreneurial spirit
Well-
because of the risk, or because they just don't have it?
I think there's I got into a really, I started red pilling last week on education, and I got into a really deep thing about, because I was looking at switching, my son's at Goddard right now, and I was like, something happened that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually funny. They were going to like catered lunch, and I was like, I'm a food snob. So I look at ingredients. I'm like, my kid's not eating that. And I was like, they sent the list of like, it was the menu items. And I was like, well, what the fuck's in this? Like, I want to see the nutritional cards on all this shit. Like, oh, fish sticks for 2-year-olds? Like, what? Where?
Is this for every day or just a
Like
single?
every day they were catering, like we switched to, I'm not packing lunch anymore, right?
Oh.
And I make lunch. You follow me on Instagram, you see the fucking lunches.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, my son doesn't eat this. My son eats foraged mushrooms and like he eats the Szechuan pepper spicy noodles from Red Szechuan Bistro.
Yeah.
Like he's not eating fish sticks. Like
Yeah.
and I'm not saying like I'm not gonna feed him to him. My son's not gonna eat the fish sticks.
Yeah,
I
and
already
also he
fucking-
shouldn't be eating
He's not,
fried
and he
fish sticks,
shouldn't.
yeah.
And so I started looking into this, and I was like, you know what? Maybe my son just needs to switch fucking schools.
So
So I started diving into education, and I was like, turns out they still know very little about how any of us learn, especially at that age. And like like when you start to get into Common Core, yeah, man, some kids probably do learn by learning Common Core, and some kids learn other math. And like, all I fucking realized is we know so little about how kids learn, and that's why so many kids get left behind. And that's why so many of these fucking kids and like these young adults and these like kids in their 20s who are messaging us for a job have no fucking clue what they're doing, because like the education system in this country is so fucked and it's so set up. It doesn't teach you they're just starting to teach like financial responsibility classes and things like that. Like, we just don't know anything. And like I feel like kids are getting dumber because they're just like, it's because of how the education system's set up, and because we're just, again, the government,
yeah.
they're so fucking slow to respond to like the fact that like they're like, hey, let's take a step back, and like maybe everyone needs to be on an individualized learning plan, and maybe there's a way to analyze this shit. Maybe it'll help kids figure out what the fuck they want to do. And maybe trigonometry is not that important for somebody who wants to be a radio broadcaster.
Yeah.
Or like go into media. Like maybe there's like 17 categories and you can pick one of them. And if you don't like, it's just like college. You switch directions. But like maybe we should, like, I've never fucking used trigonometry.
Yeah. I mean, I think, let me say, dude, let me just say this. I'm 100% on board with you. And I agree with you. I would venture to say the only distinction I would make is I think we have a pretty decent understanding of where kids would flourish in an educational environment. We just don't do it. And I think the reason we don't do it is because we can't do it in the way the system's set up.
Right.
Like with the educational system, and I'm sure you can relate to this. I know, Eric, we talked about this a billion times, but like, you know, we did well on tests and stuff like that. But like when I really felt like school was more about like training you to be able to like follow a structure.
Yeah.
And it didn't make learning fun. It didn't like nothing about it. Like the people that did best in school as you grow up and get later in life are the same people that are like really good at their like job at this company and they're
Right.
like great at organize and it's like
Yeah, and it's like I remember when I stopped giving a shit in high school,
mhm.
and I still did well on standardized tests, and
Yeah.
like that's like I just stopped caring. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll be a C student.
But then you look at like how much time do you spend like looking into stuff on your own time and how much time do I spend researching area? Like people, we have a love for learning. That
Was actually it's funny you say that. That was the point, and it was like talking about how younger kids learn.
Yeah.
And it was like they have at that age, at that 2, like even younger, and like as they go on, they have such a thirst for learning, like and seeing it now in a 2-year-old and trying to like expose him to things like we go hiking all the time, we're outdoors in the zoo and the aquarium and the fucking art and do art stuff, and like I'm just like, yo, like children want to learn. You just have to put them in a position to be learning things, not occupied just so you have free time, like actually like engaged in learning in stuff. And like we are not set up for that. We're set up for like everyone learns the same way and this is how we're going to teach it. And
Yeah.
if you fail, you get to learn it again.
I mean, I
So
remember
you will learn it. You will take this until you either fucking learn how to learn it like this, or we're just gonna pass.
yeah, it's not even really being able to learn it. It's
18
just
in
like,
4th grade.
yeah, show up,
Like-
show up, remember it long enough to take the test, and then forget it because
forget
you
it.
never absorbed it in a meaningful way to actually apply it. Like you get like this you get this like boatload of information, and this is another thing I realized as I got older was like when we were taught about like music and science and chemistry and all this stuff, all in like different classes, and then it wasn't until I got older that I realized like, oh shit. Beethoven was around the same time. Like Beethoven had a #1 hit when George Washington was fighting the Revolutionary War, and like you start to learn about things in like a connected.
He had his first gold record.
Yeah, like you learn like you were never taught things in a way. You were taught a bunch of information, but never given any type of way to connect it or apply it to your everyday life. And I don't want to say that that's done purposefully. I think again, instead of it being this diabolical thing of this evil manipulating class of people that are trying to keep us down, I think it comes down to incompetence. And I think when you have a system like the way our education system works, we are so bad at trying to foster that environment for such a large group of people that it winds up playing down to the lowest common denominator. And there's also the other approach, like we were talking about before, with like when like you're talking about doing these community build-up things outside, like completely devoid, just let the government just let me do it. Like I'm not asking you to do anything other than to let me do this thing.
Right.
I think that so much of what makes a school successful is not just the school itself. Like I look at like Towson High School, and then you go right around the Beltway to like another high school, like Overly High School. And it's like, well, we're in the same jurisdiction. We, in theory, receive the same amount of funding as a county school. And like, this is all like, but what's the difference? The difference is that in Towson, it's not just what you pick up in the school. It's that when those kids go home, they are more than often, far more in other areas, going home to a stable family that is also encouraging and instilling education as a very vital thing.
Oh my God.
And so
it's
that makes the school
important.
better.
Like 100%. And it's like the parents, I mean, here we go again. Like it comes back to like self-responsibility and like taking that into account and saying, hey, like as a parent, you have to be like, yo, it's not the school's fucking job to like make sure, like my parents made me do my homework. Like that's a privilege, honestly.
Yeah,
like
for
to have
sure.
parents who actually cared and like forced you into making. Now I got good grades up until 10th grade up until 11th grade because I was engaged. I just went through something and realized, hey, this is all bullshit and it's not going to matter in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. Literally like went through, I got viral meningitis. I went fucking crazy. I had swelling on the brain. I came out a different person and I was like, none of this fucking matters. I like almost died. And I was like in my head, I don't know what clicked, but it was like,
How'd you get meningitis? Making out with a
no,
super hot
yeah.
chick?
No, actually the irony is
Base nectar.
they don't know.
Got him.
It was base nectar.
You were just teetering the line of too old at that point. I'm glad it got to you.
Yeah. No, it was like we got some crabs from a questionable place. Could have been that. I had some stresses in my life. Like a girl was like fucking running me through the ringer. Like, I don't know if it was that, I don't know what fucking happened in that time frame, but I got really sick really fast. They thought it was my Crohn's, because I was throwing up, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and like I almost died because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They're like Crohn's, and then the doctor. I remember this story. Yeah, sure. The doctor walks in and goes, twist his head to the nurse, and the nurse, they're like, what? And they're like, turn his head. I think he has meningitis.
Oh,
and they turned my head, and they were like, holy shit, we have to do a spinal tap right away.
Damn.
And so it was like, so
what happened when they turn your head? I guess it
so I
just really
scream, you
fucking
scream.
hurt.
So it's like you have encephalitis, you have like swelling in the spinal cord and stuff. And so they turned my head. I screamed. They're like, he has meningitis. It was viral, and it wasn't like the transmittable kind. It's like the whatever. And so I was in the hospital, but I remember I was delirious, but I was pulling my IVs out. I was naked in the window of Children's Hospital in Philadelphia.
Hell yeah.
I was like pissing it. I
outside.
pissed in a like janitor's closet. Like I was like.
So you just became
It
way
was
cooler.
basically it was basically college, but I was like 16, and so
This kid is reborn as
there was something with my personality changed after that, and I stopped fucking caring, but I started looking like long term, like life, like happiness, like things like that, and like I became very self responsible in that sense. Worked a lot, like made a lot of money, but like literally punted school. Was like,
yeah.
fuck this. Like, just didn't care. Like, but I was right. Turns out, didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, and for a lot of people it doesn't. And like I would say for most people, the education that you get from that time is not necessarily what's. I remember in kindergarten class, my teacher used to have this poster that said, "All I ever really needed to know, I learned in kindergarten." And I was like, all right, maybe like reading is vital, but also it's like. I knew how to read when I was in kindergarten because my parents made me learn how to read.
Right.
You know, it's like you get to a certain point, like you're saying, you're learning fucking trigonometry, and it's like, okay, today I did use trigonometry as like part of a bit though. On the podcast, we were trying to figure out
what it was.
Yeah, it was. It was like we were trying to say like how far away this camera was from that couch because I was saying I had like a nice ass, but it was like I was like doing something over there, and they were like, it looked kind of like not that fat on the camera. I was like, well, it's like 12 feet, and they were like, nah, dude, like that's easily 6. And I was like, well, let's think about it. And then so we did like the hypotenuse of it, and we were like, okay, well, this is 8 feet
I love
here.
that we're using the word hypotenuse. I don't think I've used the word hypotenuse.
I forgot about that word.
Hypotenuse since trigonometry.
Yeah, dude.
But that shit's in like
A bit would have never flied if I didn't go to 10th grade.
Maybe something to discuss and maybe a solution for this is to realize like kids, everything's moving quicker. Kids can make decisions about what direction they want to go at an earlier age because they have access to more info. Like maybe like the college style of like learning should start at like 14. You should start testing a bunch of stuff. Hey, each year you pick a different major to focus on.
Yeah, but instead the college style of learning has gone the opposite direction where now it's starting to mirror more of the grade school style of learning, I would say.
I have no idea.
I would say, I mean,
I dropped
like,
out of college.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
As all three of us
Cheers.
dropouts, we can all officially
Look at us
say.
now. We get our own podcast. We talk shit and say fuck a lot.
We know. I mean, I look. One of the main reasons that was really one of the main reasons I dropped out of college is because I went there, and the whole first year I was retaking classes like
That
at
you
a
already
lower
took. You're
level,
like, hey,
not even like the
English
same
101,
class. Yeah,
like,
English
yo,
101.
I know where to put the comma. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the only difference is now I'm paying you to take the same classes I took in like 11th
I'm
grade.
convinced, speaking of conspiracy theories, I'm convinced all of this shit, the first 2 years of college is just lobbyists pushing. And like, we're going to get in the, let's talk about lobbyists after this, but like it's
Let's.
lobbyists pushing this idea of like, well, we got to move these books. It's lobbyists for the book company, and the book company has to fucking they got to keep making their money. Like,
Dude.
like, and so it's, you like, look at like all the fucked up shit in the world, right? Styrofoam.
Mhm.
We still use styrofoam. Why the fuck are we using styrofoam? Right?
Yeah.
We have these paper boxes there. Maybe the styrofoam costs a penny less, right? But there's a fucking lobbyist, right?
Yeah.
There's probably dozens of them. There's just fucking lobbyists for the styrofoam industry.
Yep.
There's a guy, right, who takes home 6 digits, probably closer to $250,000 a year, and he's the top lobbyist for styrofoam and like inorganic plastics and fucking PFA.
And he's just like, look,
or
it
whatever.
floats. It'll
Right.
never,
Yeah.
it'll never
In a
deteriorate.
flood, you can serve in a flood. 'cause
You could
it
leave a chicken
floats.
sandwich in this, put it out on the river,
Right.
come back and get it a year later. Styrofoam.
But it's like when you get into all these things where you're like find inefficiencies, I feel like behind every inefficiency that you can find in our society, there's a fucking lobbyist standing there pushing it.
But what's always
Every inefficiency tied to government regulation or
boom.
government,
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
things like, but the market's starting to push back, and like I'm like almost once I get to like 10 restaurants, I'm gonna get on my high horse and start calling people out for using shit like styrofoam.
Yeah,
I just got into it with a publicly traded restaurant owner, like one of the founders of a big company, because like I didn't like how they were assembling something, the takeout orders, and like I happened to fucking DM him and be like, yo, you guys just got in trouble for some other shit with your food. Here's a picture. Like this can't like, and he read it and he didn't reply within an hour, and I fucking lit him up. I was like, I'm really sorry, we're gonna fix it. Like blah blah blah. Like thanks so much. Like, but I'm like, dude, the market is going to come at like, you think cancel culture for fucking some of the shit's petty? Like, wait till we start cancel culturing places that use styrofoam.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna come like at some point. Like at some point, like dumb inefficiencies like that where people are just ruining the environment and ruining the planet and like ruining your drinking water because they're just lazy and they don't want to fucking deal with like the shit.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna come for them.
Well, like you said, it's always this golden combination of money, private interests, and government ties.
Right.
So the private interests are the ones funding the politicians to be able to make their next term.
Right.
But when you get voted in after getting donations, the styrofoam guy doesn't come into your office and give you a $250,000 campaign donation.
Right.
And then the first thing you do in office is make styrofoam illegal.
But at some point the market's gonna push back and like it's just constituents who are like, we want to see it at a mass level. And places or cities are doing it. You're seeing it. Cities are banning styrofoam.
Yeah.
They're banning plastic bags. Speaking of that, and again, I think it's a fucking lobbyist behind it. So like Baltimore banned plastic bags. I hate plastic bags. I have a shit ton of them from Target. I always bitch at the guys at Target or the cashiers. I'm like, just pack it heavy. I don't need any more fucking Target plastic bags at my house that I need to eventually recycle up there. But like when they banned plastic bags and made it like a 5-cent charge or whatever the charge is, they also made a 5-cent charge for paper. And they also made a 5-cent charge for compostable. And I'm like, if I'm buying compostable, I should not have to pay you the 5 cents.
Yeah.
I decided to spend more money on my bags to make sure they're compostable.
So you have to pay 5
That's
cents.
a compostable bag.
So you have to so when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah. But you pay, there's a charge in Baltimore. If you get a bag, they charge you 5 cents.
5 cents.
I use compostable bags. I don't care.
Well, I mean, I just don't like. What is the thought process for the
It does
law?
because some lobbyist probably was like some plastic bag lobbyist or someone else or some guy who took it, some guy in City Hall, or someone who took a check. Somebody was like, we got to do it for all bags. I'm like, look, like
Now you just made bags expensive.
I agree that like, yeah, probably paper bags are probably bad too. And we should probably do it for that 5 cents for that for fucking deforesting trees. But what if we're just using it for recycle? What if it's 100% recycled? Like we should just be doing that. Like we can do it. Like we could the whole country could go to recycled fucking, if we just made our shit efficient. Our recycling, have you ever looked into recycling? That's a fucking dude.
Yeah,
that's a
We've
red pill.
uncovered the truth.
Dude, it's
of
so
recycling.
bad. The truth of recycling is we fill up ships and send it to third world countries and pay them to recycle it, and they dump it in fucking landfills.
Burn it off.
Or burn it. But like, you go to a
Recycling's a
place,
sham.
you go to a
still do it,
socialist
though.
place like fucking Sweden or Norway or like Switzerland, and they burn their fucking trash in these giant things like you see off 95. But they have like the real deal filters, and the air coming out of those things are cleaner than the fucking shit that exists outside of it. Like that's how good their filters are. We're just fucking lazy, and we can't get anything done. And like everyone's trying to cut corners and make money. It's like we could burn our trash, we could figure it out, and there'd be like a smaller amount of toxic waste we can dump in landfills and like, I guess I don't know all of it, but like,
I mean, look,
there's a better way to be doing a lot of that shit. But again, who's picking up the trash? Who's paying for that?
the common trend is the countries that
Although, hold on real quick. I just want to say the caveat. I am not suggesting that we suddenly start giving people the money instead of picking up the trash. Like, that's part of their universal basic income.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude.
we're done trash collection. You figure it out
yeah.
yourself.
Hey, you know what now that I have this $1,500 a month, you know what I realize I want to do? Pick up trash. I think that'll be my
I'm gonna
pursuit.
figure out what I'm gonna do with my trash on my own.
You need people working jobs that they don't want to do because there are so many jobs that nobody wants to do. And that's one of the
100%.
beauties of a desolate society, is that there's always going to be someone to clean your septic tank. Because nobody was ever growing up going, dude, I cannot wait to jump into somebody's 4 years of shit and clean it out.
100%.
You need a guy that needs to do that, you know? But yeah, recycling's a fucking sham.
Yeah, it is. We bastardize everything we do. Like,
Because we're not.
The basic intent of recycling is such a good idea.
Is everybody listening? The problem with America is
This is
also
the title for the TikTok clip too.
Is everyone listening?
Problem
check.
with
the
America.
problem with
with America.
America.
Go ahead.
Whenever we name all
This
these,
is the only problem, by the way.
this is it. This is it. Is all the countries we're listing, for the most part, are these countries that are extremely homogenous in terms of culture and religion and things like that, where they, like, you go to Sweden and it's just a bunch of fucking Swedish people, dude.
It's just Swedish.
It's just Swedish people.
Meatballs
And it's not
Meatballs
hard.
everywhere.
It's not hard to get a bunch of people that all come from the same background, share the same history, share all the same things. The only thing America has going for it is when you come to America, look, if I went to China tomorrow, give me 4 lifetimes, I'd never become a Chinese guy. I couldn't. I would never be looked at as a Chinese person. Chinese person comes here, the second they step in here, they're an American.
Well, that's the buy-in. It's the buy-in. They want the buy-in from the individual coming here of like, hey, I'm assimilating. I want to be an American.
But that's what American culture is, though.
Right.
It's not a cultural thing. It's an idea.
Here's my buddy from Atlanta that I was with this weekend. We were talking about this, and he goes, I don't know what country he was talking about. I can text him and ask him, but he was like, they bitch about their taxes there. Wouldn't America be great if like all we bitched about was our taxes? If our healthcare and our roads were clean and all the shit that's like our everyday shit that we bitch about was fine and we didn't bitch about it, and the only thing fucking annoying us was taxes. We just had one thing that we bitched about, but everything else was taken care of.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it. That's like the democratic socialist, like the proper is that democratic socialism? That's what Sweden is?
Like the Bernie Sanders? Because that's like the Bernie Sanders' favorite
It's a higher,
countries.
like you're paying like 60% taxes, but like your healthcare is taken care of, your schooling's taken care of through like when you get a career, like all like your daycare, your time off, your like all your shit is taken care, all of it. Like, right? And then the only thing you're bitching about is taxes. But like, it's the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, there is
not
the
bad.
added thing. What's up?
It's not bad.
It's not bad, but
not
at the
a bad
same time,
trade-off.
it's like, I mean, there's so many other things. I know I said there was only one problem with America. Turns out
There's
there's more.
two.
There's two. There's 2 problems with America now that I'm really thinking about it. And the other problem I would say is that, like, think of the stuff that America is like responsible for globally that Sweden is just fucking not. Like, think of how, like, let's make Sweden switch roles with America for one day on a global scale and see how well they do with all their fucking free this, free that, free this. It's like, you're not, like, if somebody attacks Sweden, who's stepping in? Who's stepping in? Really?
Denmark, maybe. I
Denmark,
don't
maybe.
know.
And what are they gonna do?
Right.
Fucking throw a chair at them? What are they gonna do? Honestly, it's like there's like these ideas. I'm not saying there aren't something to strive for, but I do think it's kind of an unfair comparison to just say like, well, look, they got to figure out. It's like, well, they're living a completely different fucking thing
It's
over
not that
here.
easy, and I'm not. I mean, it's hyperbole to believe it. I think that's the word for it. It's like
Hyperbole.
Like it's an overblown idea to like think that it's that easy. I'm just saying like there's probably a better way than what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And like there's definitely like there's a simple like, look, if I didn't have to worry about healthcare and education and like fucking fish sticks on my fucking 2-year-old son's menu at his school, and, like if people like, there's a fish stick lobbyist that's lobbying for those farm raised tilapia fish sticks that are probably fucking killing my child slowly that they're serving in school.
I also have found it ironic that whenever you talk to somebody about that, like they'll like talk about like the ideal country to live in, and then they just list like the top 5 whitest countries in the world.
Yeah, it's dude, Sweden's just, it's not even white, it's just Nordic. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Beyond
not,
white.
It's beyond white. It's the whitest shade.
Yeah, they're
Like,
ice.
It's the
They're ice.
I would not fit in Sweden. I don't know if you would.
We're black. I'm black in
Eric,
Sweden.
I think you might fly there.
Eric, you
be
might make
okay.
it. You might make
I
it.
could fake it till I make it, you know? I could figure it out.
But no, it's definitely like, but those are the places that tried it, but they also stayed neutral and everything, and they're not, their defense is, maybe it'll change now that fucking they're trying to join NATO.
Oh
Like,
yeah, true.
Oh shit, hey, you gotta.
Are they not in NATO?
No, they're like, all those Nordic countries are like, they invaded Ukraine, we're joining NATO. Fuck you.
Yeah, they did. They did all their fucking conquests like with the Vikings, dude.
That was it.
They get a
haven't
free pass
conquered-
for that too.
They haven't conquered shit since Newfoundland.
Nobody really calls them out for that. It's like, dude, you guys were like some of the worst.
Yeah.
Like literally the
I
worst.
think they ate babies.
They did a lot of shit, dude.
Yeah.
They were worse than the
They
fucking
haven't-
Greeks.
dude, they
We
haven't-
had goddamn
they haven't
respect.
put their flag in a new country since like Greenland, right?
Yeah, and that's
Like,
just
nobody wants that shithole.
yeah. Greenland sucks.
They had to false advertise it just to get people interested. They're like, shit, we're not going to call it Iceland because we've already taken that. Let's call it Greenland. People want to move here. We'll go back and tell them it's Greenland.
Apparently it
Like, oh,
was, yeah.
it's there.
That was like the actual.
that
thing.
really,
I
like,
think it was the
that
thing.
was, like-
They were like, we'll call this Iceland.
Yeah.
We'll call this Greenland.
It's
Nobody's
like
going
one
to
of
want
those
to come
Florida
here.
timeshares.
This is the nice one with volcanoes and warm fucking sulfur baths. And
Yeah.
like, let's send them all to the
And back then
ice
there was
hole.
no Google, so you were just looking at a map, and one's called like Sucktown, and the other one's called like Super Hot Girls Babes Party Town. You're like, I'm going
British
there,
are
dude.
like, let's
I'm
fuck
sailing there.
The British are like, let's go fucking invade Greenland. They get there, they're like, shit. Like, shit. Got
Oh
us
my
again.
gosh. Were there any other pressing issues you want to discuss? Because I'm actually kind of scared that we might wander upon a dreaded third problem with America, and I'm not
I don't
ready
wanna do that,
to
dude.
accept
What's
that.
going on with who won? So Das Beer House won that shit.
Das Beer Hall.
Das Beer Hall,
Das Beer
yeah.
House was the place down in Fed, which I didn't realize until way too late in the game that I used to play at the Das Beer House, and I never connected
What's
the
the
two
difference
dots.
between the two?
It's the same owners, I believe, minus one guy. They had the place.
Wait, what happened to the guy?
I don't know. We're
He
gonna
got
have
sent to
to.
Greenland.
We'll ask him at knife point. But something went awry, and they reopened at the corner of Joppa and Harford Road. And even somebody who grew up here, I still see that it's a massive victory for like how the like if you look at like just the location,
Where are they at?
Joppa and Harford. It's in Parkville.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's in Parkville.
Yeah.
And not only did they win, but they smoked.
Yeah,
everyone.
they're
I mean, it was
dominating.
They actually did they promote? They were like, hey,
but everyone promoted.
but okay.
Everyone promoted hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, El Buff was like going not like
We
this
heard
year.
that people like had to leave.
I've got a 23,000
Restaurants.
person email list. I think I can win this next year.
I think. Hey, you know what? If you get a fucking liquor license, you know our
we
qualifications.
have one downtown.
Okay.
Oh, downtown's entering.
What time
It's
do you guys
flagship.
close?
1 a.m.
Then you're in next year.
Fuck yeah.
There you have it. You hear that, Das Beer Hall?
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you,
coming
baby.
for you.
It's
We're gonna-
always fun. Yeah, we only had a couple.
They're gonna find pizza sauce like on their door, like the
red-
Like the blood of a lamb.
Like I'm terrified, but this is delicious.
We're gonna prank, dude. We'll probably do that, like shoot some kind of prank video where we're like fucking, causing property damage.
Yes, dude.
oh,
I'm
yeah.
looking.
That's our
I'm looking
conversation.
forward to next year's because it's already getting heated, especially now that you're entering the race.
Oh,
We're
we're
gonna put
going.
some.
Like I've been watching this for a while. This year, our big thing is the Baltimore Best of
Mhm.
Reader's Choice. We didn't get nominated last year. We were too new.
Mhm.
It nominated us last week. There's another pizza place that like loves to brag that they won
Yeah.
last 2 years. They're not gonna win this year.
Do we know this pizza place? Was this pizza
Let's-
place perhaps part of the Baltimore Bar Classic bracket?
I don't know. Were they? Who was on there? I didn't see any pizza. I didn't look to see.
Johnny Rats.
No,
Yeah,
I
they
love
were-
Johnny Rats.
Okay, yeah.
Dude, that place is fucking great.
Oh,
have
yeah,
you,
I
have
love
you
it.
had their gone to their sausage place?
Mm-mm.
Snake Hill. Snake Hill
Really?
Grill. Place is fucking fire. And
I gotta
those
put
guys
them
are
on
like,
next year too.
Those guys do like
I slept on them this year.
they're big in like vegan food, like vegan alternatives and like meatless stuff, and like so they do like really good like meat, and then they do like alternatives. Owner's super nice.
So we could bring in the vegan
Yeah.
vote next year, dude.
We have good vegan pizzas.
The
I wouldn't-
vegan vote could turn the
Yeah.
tides of next year's thing. But yes,
vegan. If you can get the vegans activated, you're fucking.
I drove my girlfriend, who's from Jersey, right outside of New York, past Das Beer Hall on Joppa and Harford Road. And I was like, see that? That's the bar that is the
the
best bar in
That's the
Baltimore.
one.
And she was like, what? Really? And I was like, trust me, if you go inside, you'll
I'm
get
gonna
it.
s-
I didn't get it
I'm
until
gonna-
I went
I'm gonna-
inside.
I'm gonna like go by and like stuff mozzarella sticks in their keyhole. Like, yeah,
This is inconvenient. This is delicious.
Cheese pull on this.
I feel like we did a record this time now.
This
too.
is a world record, baby.
Yeah, this is,
And,
These are always good. These are so easy to do.
How many podcasts a year are you doing these days,
This
dude?
is my first one this year. I haven't been doing any. I haven't been asked.
You're
to
just
be
starting
on
your
cheating
press
on
tour
us?
I
now.
feel like a lot of people have quit doing podcasts since their jobs came back.
Most people come to their senses with podcasts.
yeah.
It's
don't.
a grind.
Luckily, we
Like,
started way before COVID.
Yeah, dude, it's hard.
We've had more than enough time to realize this is pointless.
It's a reason to drink beer on a Monday night and watch basketball on
Exactly.
my phone while I hang out with two guys.
Well, cheers to that. We got Firm. We're sponsored by Firm this evening. We're normally, I was actually planning on being sponsored by Miller Lite this evening.
During this sponsorship, I'm gonna take a
That's
piss.
good beer though. Like you should go. You should come down with me one day and like. Fucking
Sure, I would love
go
to.
drink
They got a
some beer.
brewery where?
Yep, it's in Crofton, right on Route 3.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this podcast is not brought to you by Miller, even though I'm drinking Miller Lite and wearing a Miller Lite
We
hat
drank
that I
the Firm
found.
already.
The Firm, however,
Sixers
standing.
lost tonight. By the time you're listening to this, you would realize the Sixers are down.
Did you
or
put money on them?
up 3-2? No, I actually bet on Toronto tonight because
Wow.
Sixers are gonna win 4-2. So
Okay.
yeah, mark my words. Press that bet next time. Press that bet. Next
Can I
time.
get a slice of pizza to shine to the camera real quick,
sure.
please? Any slice that you think?
They're kind of like they need to be heated up.
Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to write a Yelp review.
Ready up, dude. I'll light you up.
All right. This is the, what is this?
That is the Destroyer. It's vodka sauce, pepperoni, and red pepper flake.
All right, folks. You heard it there first. You're looking at the Destroyer, baby. Vodka sauce, pepperoni, and red pepper flakes.
House-made vodka sauce.
Right up my alley, too. I like this. Let's get a bite of it. Underground pizza, Detroit style pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Audio
I'm
listeners
gonna
are
go home
loving
and
it.
eat 3 pieces of pizza and watch Breaking Bad. Oh, we didn't even. Next episode, we're gonna talk about how Netflix fucking sucks and their content's awful.
Oh, phenomenal.
That's a whole episode.
I love it. Yeah, we'll get that going next time.
All right.
Guys, Evan Weinstein of Underground Pizza.
Thanks so much for having me.
Anything you want to plug? Important?
No, we'll be open in Towson soon. Come see us.
You heard that, Towson people.
Undergroundpizza.co is our website.
Cool. Guys, Eric's taking a leak. In the meantime, I'll drop some serious plugs on you. This Tuesday, every single Tuesday at Perennial in Towson, I am there from 5 to 8:30. Every Wednesday night at the Horseshoe came in on 9:30 to close.
Just be outside.
Yeah, just go around all the way around the back. I'm in hot water from a landlord. That's a story for another day, or immediately after we stop recording. Every Wednesday night at the Horseshoe came in on 9:30 to close with Jason Heiser. And this freakend, we're doing a little expose, our semi-monthly, every 6 weeks return to the Point in Towson with the band, 8:30 to 12:30. I hit them with a little classic negotiation. They were doing 9 to 1. I said, nah, son, 8 to 12. And we did that for a couple weeks, and it was awesome. And they were like, we can't let Jimmy win. 8:30 to 12:30. I said, all right, fine. You got yourself a goddamn deal. So we'll be there 8:30 to 12:30 this Saturday, April 30th at the Point in Towson. Outside of that, Christos Anesti. My Easter was yesterday. So for all Greeks, Eastern Europeans, anybody, that looks like me, happy Easter to you guys. Eric, anything coming up?
No, I just had a big week last week. I had 2 shows in one night.
Oh yeah.
And that was the only 2 shows I did this month. But you know, yeah, it was fun. Did Umar's show on 420 at Union, and we did like this like drunk versus high spelling bee. And Union actually won that. They won the drunk side.
Nice.
But I feel like it's kind of rigged because like they all work at a brewery. They're all drunk all the time anyway. Like,
Well, you gotta assemble your best drinking squad, dude.
I guess.
I go down there right fucking now and spell anything you want.
But yeah, that was fun. And then did Travis and Ian's show at the Crown afterwards. Good time. I got some stuff brewing in the works,
Ooh.
but I'll keep everyone
Yeah.
posted at Eric Laser on everything. Keep an eye out.
And of course, a mutual plug. Guys, Saturday, May 7th at Das Beer Hall, your favorite bar of Baltimore. We are haven't come up with a cool sounding event name for it, but it's going to involve the fact that the winner of this competition gets the coveted booze belt.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Booze belt bequeathing.
the booze belt bequeathing of Baltimore. Saturday, May 7th. I think we're going to kick that off at 8 p.m. A lot of stuff is still in the works. We're going to have some comedians show up, do some sets. It's going to be headlined by a very popular Baltimore area band, Sophomore, which I just so happen to be in. Oh, yeah, one of Evan's favorite bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to have some cool drink specials there. If you're a listener of the podcast, you might recognize a couple. We're going to make that happen.
The Jimmy Selesky, a.k.a. Whiskey Diet Coke.
Oh, yeah. Maybe a little Monsterade, a little Monster Gatorade, and some vodka to spice it up. I don't think I told you this, but when I first messaged them that Thursday, then we did that podcast, and they hadn't responded yet. So I was thinking, oh, I don't think they're going to want to do this. Just because it was like, I sent them a long thing because I'm very clingy. I'm a stage 5 clinger when it comes to setting things up at bars. It's just part of my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I messaged them all these ideas, didn't hear back from them. And so then 5 days later, I messaged them again, and I was like, hey, if you guys don't want to do the party, I totally get it. I get it if it's like too much, but let's just set up a time when you're around so we can come down and give you the belt and the bracket and snap a couple of pictures for the gram. And they immediately got back to me and were like, no, we definitely want to do this party. I was like, okay, fuck yeah, let's make it happen. So it's fucking happening, baby.
Yeah.
Saturday, May 7th, 8 p.m., going all night. Get yourself some Jimmy Selesky, some Monsterades, maybe a little gin and tonics. That's a summer favorite of the cast, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe a little High Life mimosa, Miller High Life and orange juice, a champagne of beers with a little orange juice.
That sounds
Yeah.
fancy.
Oh, it's not only fancy, it's fucking good. But yeah, so check that out. LFTS podcast on everything. You can follow Evan Weinstein at Laser Jew, correct?
Correct.
At Laser Jew
With a Z.
With a Z.
And then Underground Pizza MD.
Underground Pizza MD. Also check out Moonrise at Steve's promo.
We
if you're
have
looking at
Reggae
something.
Rise Up coming. And
Reggae
we have
Rise
all
Up?
kinds of cool stuff coming to the area.
Nice.
Lots of pizza.
Hell yeah, baby.
Oh,
Folks.
and we'll be at Preakness. We will be, Underground Pizza will be serving pizza at Preakness.
Then I might be at
Ooh,
Preakness
that's
for the first
big.
time ever.
Jimmy Selesky is making an
Preakness
appearance.
debut.
Yeah.
He's going to sign your pizza.
Folks, check us on everything. Till next week. Peace.
Peace.
Always legendary.